All right, good afternoon, everyone, once again. If you're just joining us, we were waiting for other people to join us earlier, but we're going to make a start officially now. I believe we've got a lot to cover and we don't have enough time. If you can see the screen I'm sharing, so today we're looking at an overview, or what I call the roadmap to business analysis and project management. Basically, what it means is we're looking at a few career paths, which I think is fit for a few target groups. We're going to go through that at some point along the line, so you see where you fall, and we do some housekeeping. So I'll give you this modality how I was going to run, and basically how you can sort of interact if you have any questions and all that. We want to make it more interactive, as much interactive as possible, so that we can gain as much as we can through the session. Obviously, we can't cover all the topics, but you should still be able to benefit quite a lot from the few hours we're going to spend together. Right. Just quickly going to introduce myself before I hand over to Ross in a way of, some questions, and I'll tell us how we're going to answer from our side. My name is Joe, for those that know me. If you don't, I'm Joe by name. I'm an IT consultant, pretty much a few years of experience in various industries. Started from the engineering field to digital industry to retail, e-commerce. Presently, I sit within the retail and e-commerce as well as I do I'm passionate about improvements, and just not for myself but for people as well. I really love to see people progress and improve in various aspects. Career has been one of them, and so I do career coaching, counseling, mentoring and mentorship as well. And within the areas that I do know about, which I cover, as you can see, business analysis, anything data related stuff, from SQL development to data analysis and business intelligence analysis as well. I do cover that. I previously, dealt with development of, applications. So I do coding a bit as well, but I don't really focus on that. Like I said, a few years of experience, a bit 15 years and over, which covers all the industry I've worked in. I mean, from pretty much since I've been working, basically. So that covers everything. Currently, I'm a business intelligence analyst. I do project management as part of my role. We're going to get to know that at some point. I'm a team player. I work with teams, both locally and remotely as well. I mean, you all know the age where we are now, where the world is just global. We just all sort of connected and knitted together. Thanks to a few years ago, COVID, it's made us realize quite a lot of ways of working, which benefits quite a lot of people these days. So that's me in a nutshell. I'll pass over to Ross. And you're not going to tell me or tell us who you are just the way I've done it. So keep your sort of microphone muted, but I'll probably just like to have an idea who we have on the call, just a rough idea. And my way of doing it will be not to know our names. I can see the names already on the screen. I've seen the name on the registration. But again, understanding, sorry, I think we'll jump in there. This is where we still are. Basically, understanding a bit of our background and what you know, and where you're coming from, and again, what you like to get or gain from this particular session. Right, so I'm going to be posting some questions across to Ross, and if you just answer, I'll be able to have an idea. Can you see the first question I posted?
How do we answer?
It's a multiple choice question. Do you see select one of the following? Is that showing?
It's not clickable.
It's not clickable.
Yeah.
Is that for everyone?
Yeah, I couldn't click it.
Is that for everyone?
I've submitted mine.
Okay, Yeah, you see, Mehmet, there might be a reason why you're not able to click, because you shouldn't
Okay,
click.
all right.
Yeah, all right, thank you. Okay, yeah, I just wanted to know. Okay, so I'm going to close that now, and let's get the result of that. Okay, so 14% of people on this call at the moment answered yes, 86% answered no, which just tells me majority of us are not currently working within the IT sector. Okay. The next question is just coming, just to understand again who we have on the call and how to sort of address the webinar, what we're looking to get. Okay, and the next is coming now. If you can see, please answer within, I think a minute should be enough, and I'll close it after 1 minute. Okay, so I'll be closing the poll now in 3, 2, 1, and we close that. All right, so I can see 43% say they want a career change. Yeah, that's the largest sort of percentage of people on the call, which is quite, yeah, I think that's what I expect. It's expected. 29%, that's the next highest percentage there says the professional looking for additional skill sets. I will still cover that in a minute. And the rest of us are, a few people are fresh graduates, or some people are returning to work after some time off. Yeah, it just tells me we have the right people on the call, and which really sort of fits into the actual purpose for the call. Okay, next is coming to us now. I think we should be able to deal with that within 30 seconds so that we can gain some time. Okay, so I'll close that now. Okay, of course, that's quite expected as well. Thank you very much for attending. And we have just a couple more questions to go, and this is just one after this. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. At least we have people on the call who knows a bit about business analysis. That's good. So we can share knowledge. I think I like that. I like sharing knowledge. I've been talking to people who understand a bit, then we can actually learn from each other. Okay, I'm going to be closing down in 3, 2, 1. Then we close that. Okay, quite a larger percentage, yeah, as expected as well. Well, maybe 0 to little knowledge of what business analysis is all about. Again, it just means we have the right people on the call. Thank you very much. And the last is coming. It's quite similar, but that's just talked about the second subject we're looking at today. All right, I'll be closing that again in 3, 2, 1, go. Right, that's quite good. I think project management is, well, this is 50-50. That's what we have here. So I'm just telling you. So half of the people on the call have the knowledge of project management, and the rest of us don't have the knowledge. Again, that's very good. It just means that quite a lot of people on the call have no knowledge of business analysis. I think we focus more on that. And again, project management will be able to share ideas, and we know exactly what it's all about, what are the various career paths along that line. Thank you very much for taking your time to answer those few questions, and that gives me an idea of who we are and the people we have on the call, and so we can kind of fire on. So why are we here? Why we're here? I think I should have added that to the poll, but I decided to make it open because obviously we have different reasons why we're here, but the most important thing is we understand the subject, right? A few people have actually answered as to what category of the target group that they belong to, which gives me an idea again as to what they're likely to be looking out for. But now, the main purpose of this webinar, like we always do, I just thought of, wrapping 2023 up with, some of us to sort of recap on maybe plans you've had all through the year and you've not been able to achieve, or the personal development plan you have that you've not been able to achieve, or things you thought you're going to learn that you've not been able to, just to look ahead into 2024 and to see what we can do differently career-wise in 2024, and just pointing out some career areas that you might actually look into if it kind of fits into what you're looking for, or your plan basically for yourself. Today we're going to be looking at the two subjects, business analysis and project management, an overview. When I mean overview, I mean we can't go in depth, we can't go into full details of what these two subjects kind of covers, but we're going to have an idea of what business analysis and project management it's all about. What it's all about, what does it really mean? What do business analysts do? What do project managers do? What does it really mean to really work in that domain? What are the sort of skill sets, most importantly, required to be one of them? And what sort of career paths is actually available on those two sort of those two areas? An overview of project methodologies. Again, those two sort of subjects sit within the project sort of domain of any organization. So it's very important that we understand the various project methodologies available and which one is quite widely used. And then again, understanding of change management. Change management sits at the bottom of everything. I mean, again, if you don't really understand, that will be broken down as we go along. So those, 4 areas. I didn't mention that techniques and tools. That's the most important thing. Everything we do, we use some skills or some techniques, some tools. I think every sort of career path or every job that you do has the use of some techniques and tools. Your tools might be hands-on tools. Your tools might be, might be softwares that you use. It might be sort of hardwares that you use. All those needs to be understood. Again, within these two subject areas. Now, as part of that, we want to sort of look into to these sort of areas using the coaching session approach, right? When I mean coaching session, I'll be facilitating, and I've got on the call with me today to sort of support me and assist me. A very good friend of mine, a colleague. We've known each other for quite a while. We're kind of professional colleagues and all that. His name is Simeme. You've heard him, talk. On few occasions while we started. So you're going to hear from him as well on this session. So two of us might be we might be exchanging. I might ask him to talk occasionally. So just understand there are 2 people on the call who will be facilitating the literature, but I will be the main facilitator for today. So it's not going to be a mix of theory and practical, not practical hands-on in real sense, but we want to give practical examples, right? When I mean practical, they are practical examples as to what we're talking about. It's not good to just talk theoretical. I'm not of that school of thought. I'm of a mixed mode school of thought. That when I'm learning something theoretically, I need to understand it. What's the practical application of that? What does it really mean in practical sense? And so we're going to be looking at that as part of our sort of, teaching approach today, or coaching approach. The reality of the matter is we can't cover everything. So we have very short time and we're dealing with a very large topic. So I'd like you to bear with us as we, sort of travel through all these subject areas, and please participate. When I mean participate is, if you have any question, just raise your hand. Use the hand sort of option you have on the sort of control panel of the go to webinar. If you don't understand where it is, just let us know, and we're going to be able to point you to how to raise your hand so you can ask questions as we go along. I want it to be interactive so that you can gain quite a lot. Now, I've asked this question earlier. It's part of the question I asked to understand who is on the call, the target group. Who is this webinar for? And I think we've all covered that. It just tells me that majority of us on the call sits within the target group. So either you are at work currently, you are in a job at the moment. We've all been there before, right? But you don't really fancy what you're doing. You're looking at a different career path, right? Which kind of fits into your lifestyle, the kind of lifestyle that you want. And I can tell you, you know, loads of sort of reasons why IT sector, a lot of people are moving into the IT sector, and why business analysis or project domain is quite the easiest way to sort of get your foot on the ladder before you begin to learn other things. Right. So if you are that kind of person, you are in a job, you're just looking to get a better career path, we've all been there, you are in the right place. You're just sitting within the right sort of group. If you're looking for, again, you're looking for a new role, just looking for roles that gives them more time control. Like I said, time control. You want to work from home. You don't want to be jumping up 5 o'clock every morning and coming back. You don't want the regular 9 to 5. It's still 9 to 5, but it's not the regular 9 to 5 anymore. The world has changed. I think you are at the right place. And you're looking for a better paid job, a job that can control, that your skill set matters and it doesn't really change no matter where you are worldwide. You know, we all know that there are some sort of skills that you have that when you travel or when you relocate to certain areas, you got to relearn again because the way they practice is just different. Now, you are sitting in the right place, you are right at the right place. If you are thinking of getting some skill set that it will be useful wherever you are all over the world. And again, it gives you full control of your time, then it gives you better pay. You're at the right place. Now, again, some people, I mean, I've had people like that, they kind of done training somewhere, they just need to just get some experience. They don't really know. I know a bit of project management, but I don't really know what it means in detail. Or I like to really get the practical side of things. And again, you're looking for that. I think, yeah, we can really brainstorm or we can deliberate together. We can share ideas and you can still learn from us today. It's just a session for us to, rub minds together and, pass on some knowledge to those that may need it, or some information to those that may actually benefit. Again, quite a few of the roles available within what we're going to be discussing today are part of the skill shortages in the UK. So I've met people, I've seen people, in fact, are people who have been sponsored as a business analyst. And I might even have any on the call now that may be able to share their own experience as well. So you're at the right place as well. There are jobs available. Professionals who want additional skill set are people who says I know about project management. I do have catch up with professionals as well. We do it officially where we sit around the table as professionals with business analysts or data analysts or business synergy analysts. Let's rub minds together. I kind of sets that up frequently on LinkedIn, which I do join. So it's quite, I mean, it's a nice thing to always do as well. Sit around the table around professionals, rub minds, share ideas. How do you deal with this? How do you deal with that? And how do you overcome this? How can I do this and all that? So you can always ask questions and learn from people. It's always very good. Life is always a lifelong, school anyway. And lifelong education are really, really, or training or improvement. I think I'm of that school of thought that we all need to learn as much as we can on a daily basis. Again, some people said they return us to work. Return us to work means you've been off work for a while. Maybe, I don't know, some people might be on maternity. You might be for any reason, for one reason or the other, you've been off work. And again, you just want to go back to work afresh, but you're not going back into the field where you've been working before. I mean, a few people have been like that. I've met people, I've mentored people within that category as well. Again, those are the people that should be. Might be a fresh graduate as well. Please, if you have any question as I'm, going through, I have a very large, I mean, very big slide I'm going through. It's not about the slide. It's just to point us to kind of areas we need to cover, and so that sort of helps the explanation of the areas I need to cover. But at the end of the day, I want to try as much as possible to cover what needs to be done. Now, some housekeeping quickly. I've mentioned before, any questions as I'm explaining anything, raise your hand, just use the icon and then unmute yourself. Or if you struggle to do that, just let us know and you'll be able to answer. Instead I answer, or Isimeme, my sort of professional colleague on the call will answer. One person will be able to attend to your call and I will be able to deal with it any question at all. Now, please and please mute yourself. So don't worry about switching off your phone. Just get yourself muted so that we have a very quiet, nice environment where everyone will enjoy. Like I mentioned earlier, participate. Participation is key. Again, ask, and ask. Ask question and ask. If you don't ask, you don't know. And whatever you don't know, it's always like you are ignorant of it, basically. And ignorance is not a good thing. So I'll ask people to ask, share your experience. What are you going through? Where are you struggling? You know, what do you need help with? Basically, share your experience. That's what the session is all about. We want to, so it's not like, oh, Joe and C wants to, you know, teach us something. It's not just about that. As we're teaching you, if you're struggling with anything, let us know. This is the time for you to, you know, confide in us. Like, I'm not saying bring your secret here. I'm talking professionally. Areas you're struggling with, oh, I've been looking for this job, I've not been able to, what can I do? Or how do I really, you know, go through this career path? Or what's the best area for me to focus on? Stuff like that. Or and share your experience along the way as well if it's related to what we're talking about. Now, I always say, you don't make mistake, you don't learn, right? Failure is not really failure. It's pretty much telling you a way of not doing whatever you failed in. So you can fail and fall several times, as long as you understand that when you rise back again and learn from the mistakes you made, you can always forge ahead. Life has a lot to offer. So make mistakes and learn from them, but then never repeat the mistakes you made so that you can, you know, get a different result. Now, the session is going to be broken down into about 2 or 3, depending. I'll let us choose. I always like to have breaks in between. You might have a cup of tea, or just stretch your leg occasionally. 3 hours is not that easy. So I might break into 1 or 2, depending on what you think. But when we break it, we're going to have about 5 to 10 minutes. Again, we're going to agree. But please sit back, relax, and have fun as we go through this session together. Any question before we start? Before I make the official start? All right, let's go ahead. So we're talking about, so I want to start with business analysis today. I did ask us earlier if we have any sort of knowledge of business analysis, and quite a larger percentage of us said no. Very few said yes, they do have. Now, business analysis is what I've been doing for quite some time. People define business analysis differently. You know, a lot of people are going to tell you, or if you ask me to define what is business analysis, I can tell you, you know, 1,001 ways of defining what business analysis is, right? So, but in summary, if I just want to, you know, summarize, 1 second, please. Trying to tidy up the screen so that it makes sense. Okay, all right. So if I want to define business analysis just in summary, now, like I have on the screen, it's a research discipline. Now, what I mean research discipline, it's a discipline that researches. That it's not a discipline that is sort of monotonous in nature, that has a way, it has a structure of working, but every subject that we look into, every project, every request needs to be, you know, needs to be explored, right? It's a research discipline that looks for facts, all right? A research discipline because you've got to look for information, you need facts to deduce what needs to be done before you can forge ahead to do anything, right? So research in that context. So research in the context when you get a topic, you need to get information. And so that's where that word research is coming from. Again, I'm going to break that down if you need along the line. Now, what it does is identify needs, right? Again, needs could mean, well, needs could mean a lot of things. What someone needs or what someone doesn't really know they need. Again, we can break that down later. And determining solution to solve a problem. So something is needed, that means there's a problem or there's a gap somewhere, right? So a business analyst goes into looking into that area of that need. Now, explore whatever information is available to understand the need and how to solve the problem, then relay it back to the business. That this is what I found out, and this is the way to solve your problem. It's basically how to fill in the gap. Again, if you want to put it that way. Now, but then when you're solving a problem, or when you are providing solution could come in different ways. And that's where business analysis could be very large, could be larger than what you expect. A lot of people focus on just IT or software development. So if you ask a lot of people about business analysis, oh yeah, you deal with softwares and all that, I understand, but it's just one out of the various sort of issues or solutions that a business may need, right? Solution could include software or system development. Software development is software development, like applications, whether mobile applications or web-based applications and all that. It could be system or process improvement related. Now, it could be organizational change related, people's change related, strategic planning. It could be a new business needs to sort of emerge, or a new product needs to emerge from a business, or we need to channel this in a different way. Again, all that will be deduced from the findings of a business analyst, right? So in a nutshell, it means a business solution could be either IT related or business related. Policy, strategic plan, organizational change are not core IT, so they may have systems embedded somewhere underneath. Again, it might be too complex, but these 5 areas you've seen on the screen are different sort of areas within the business that a business analyst will work. So it's quite large, it's quite wide. And how many business analysts actually work in those areas or in all of them? Maybe very few. We all, depending on the organization where you're working, they will focus on maybe one or two, one to many kind of all these 5 areas, basically. But a full business analyst needs to understand that they are needed. They could function in any business, any industry, engineering industry, IT, law firm, banks, healthcare, whatever you can think, the government, parastatals, business analysts are everywhere you can think of, and dealing with different business needs to provide solutions in different aspects. And these are the aspects that a business analyst could be working. In terms of, and this aspect talks about projects, right? Project areas, business areas that could be working. What's the role of a BA in a nutshell? Now, the role of a BA is basically to engage with the business and relay the information back to the technical world. So sometimes you call a BA, a business analyst, as the middleman, the liaison officer, that gap bridger, or the bridge, basically, between the business and the IT world. That's where we sit. A business analyst sits in between 2 functional areas, right? Or between all functional, a connector, not just 2, a connector. Because when you talk of business, like when I talk of business, business doesn't just mean business as the name of the business. It means every functional area within the business. So again, it's a terminology we use, or I need to talk to the business, or you need to have a word with the business. What part of the business are you talking about? There are different functional areas within the business. It could be the marketing, it could be the sales, it could be the finance, it could be the HR, it could be the operational area, it could be even people on the field. Anybody that is not IT that you need to talk to are classified as business, terminology wise. So when I say BA sits within the business and the IT, it doesn't mean it sits just between 2 people. It's a connector between all the functional areas of a business. So are you the type that likes talking to people? Maybe you don't really like talking to people, but you understand it's what we all do every day. You don't want to tell me you don't chat with your friends. Some of us are very good at chatting. Now, maybe you're wasting a skill set that you should be using to make more money. All right. Now, we're going to find out later. So BA engages with business, and it has to be early, right? And the main purpose of that is to understand the need of the business, the objective of the business, and what the business needs to achieve at the end of the day. So we want to understand the purpose, the objective, and the strategy, the plan of an organization. Now, we are responsible for identifying options, right, that will address a given solution and support the delivery of the business strategy. Now, I'm talking business side now. I'm not talking IT. So don't get it sort of mixed up. So when you hear business strategies, anything strategic, like I mentioned on the previous page, there are strategic planning sort of need for a business. There are policy development, organizational change, people's change, or need from a business. A BA is still required to understand the mission, the objective, the strategies, what's the plan of the business. So you are being deployed to help a business to improve their brand, right? Brand improvement is a BA job, right? Some people call them business consultant. We're going to go through that later. So a BA is that person who sits down with the business to understand, why are you doing the business? What is it exactly that you're looking to achieve? Who is the business for? Who is your service for? Who is the product for? Now, there is a lot of reason why I need to ask that question, because a business might be sitting in the wrong environment, trying to imagine someone trying to open an African restaurant, right? In an Asian dominated environment. You might be, I think you're doing the wrong thing. To open an African restaurant in an Asian dominated environment, and then you open the business, maybe you see one person in 2 years. Because you have to understand what you're doing, who is it for, right? Are you offering the right service in the right environment? These are stuff that BA needs to understand. Now, again, what is your mission? What are the objectives of the business? What's your strategic plan? Now, there are a lot of techniques there: your mission, your objective, your strategy, your tactics. How are you going to operate? How can we help you? Who are your main competitors? How many competitors do you have within that environment? How do they do their work, right? How do you need to do it differently so that you can function well? All these are things BA does. So you've heard of most analysis, you've heard of SWOT analysis. These are techniques that BA uses to deal with a lot of business needs, to arrive at a reasonable conclusion to advise a business that this is how you should operate, right? And that's what we're talking about here, part of the role of a BA. Now, defining tactics as well as part of, again, that's part of the most analysis, right? Now, part of the role is we support the implementation of these tactics. So after we've deduced everything, we still support the implementation. Again, we go through that in detail. Supporting implementation means you're not the one delivering it, right? So our job is to help understand the need, right? Then, after you've understood the need, you explore options of solving the need. You don't just say, these are your problems, right? Or this is the problem you have, and you back out. No, nobody does that. I don't think anybody will like you for doing that. Tell me the problem, but then tell me how to solve it. That's our job. Help you to identify what needs to be done, but then point me in the right direction. That these are the ways of solving it. Now, then that identifies who will solve it, right? If you give me options that you can do this and this and this, I know who to do that. Then I can deliver the document, or the BA can then deliver the document to who will solve the problem. But while they are delivering or solving it, that's the implementation stage. You support. Why? You've identified the need. You've documented what your findings. So you have to be there to make sure they are delivering your solution or your proposed solution the right way. So we support the implementation of all these tactics or whatever findings we sort of found out. And why do we always have options? There are always options. There's not always one way of doing things. So you got to explore different options. Again, how do you deal with that? That's why I call it a research discipline. And research doesn't really mean go on Google and do it. Now, again, we go through some of the techniques that are used in that. So again, refining the tactics after implementation changes to ensure the continued alignment with the business. Now, these are post-production or post-implementation sort of tasks as well, or what we call the change management. So you've helped to identify a need, you've told them how to solve it. Now, the people to deliver it have actually implemented it, and you've supervised it or supported them in implementing. They delivered it right. After they delivered it, then value measurement. You got to be able to support to see, how is my proposed solution? How is it doing? Has it done the right thing? Or is it working well? Or do we need to still tweak things around? That is redefining the tactics after implementation. It's part of change management. And again, there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot to all this, but I'm just trying to flesh it a little bit and make sense out of it, right? Now, you can't help solve a problem as a BA. I'll tell you the difference between a PM and a BA. As a BA, you don't help provide solution, problem solve, and then back out. Again, you got to follow up. And again, that's done in change management, or what we call benefit realization, actually, right? It's part of the ongoing part of the benefit realization is to actually help to realize, has the benefit been met? All right, I propose a solution. How is it doing? All right. You needed an organization they need their sales to they need to improve on their sales, basically. And you've helped to identify the problem they have. They have no digital presence, all right? Digital presence means awareness. They need to create awareness, launch some campaign on Instagram, launch campaign on TikTok, launch campaign XYZ. So you've done all that. You ask them to digital presence, revamp their web, These are part of the findings, so which led to a lot of projects, right? So you can see BA's findings leads to projects. And that's why I would say people, a BA must start every business need. And that's one of the problems organizations have. They don't start with a BA, they then bring a business analyst in when they've already made the wrong decision. You can make a wrong decision. Business do that. They waste money. I mean, we've seen that. If you listen to the news, you've seen a lot of, a lot of stuff on the news that will not make sense to you. How can a whole company waste 140 million? Well, they wasted it because they thought it was, well, nobody could advise them, or they didn't. Well, they have not used a lot of business consultants that has the knowledge of the policy they are trying to implement to explore what could happen. Think out of the box for them. Because a business or someone that wants to invest only have one thing in their mind, what they want to achieve. They don't know the possible areas, possible flaws that whatever they're trying to do might have. They don't know whether it's going to work well or not. All they're seeing is it working well. But a BA or a consultant, right, can help you to research into it means to explore the in and outs. Think out of the box for you. Check areas that you've not really thought of and actually propose to you either to do nothing, do minimal, or do all. And again, that's creating a business case. Again, that's a different subject which is related, but I'm just helping us to realize a BA should start to help to identify all these, which should lead to projects. And it doesn't have to lead to project every time. You don't have to do everything. You might have to do even nothing, or just do the minimum as advised by a well-seasoned business analyst. And as you can see the importance of a BA, not just to the IT industry in general, even to yourself and to every business you can think of. All right, now project managers, I'll just put that out there, right? They deliver the content. And the reason why I'm saying that is people get it twisted. A BA is mostly automatically a project manager. I mean, I think I have at least 1 or 2 BAs on this call. I think I have one. And I'll give him the opportunity to kind of tell us from his own view as well, everything I was doing, kind of summary. When I deal with every session, he will summarize for me. Right. Project managers are responsible for delivering the content of the selected options. A BA has helped to identify and give an option. For example, someone is asking me that, oh, Joe, how can I get to London? That's too ambiguous. Where are you traveling from? That's the first question I'm going to ask you. To London from where? And that's a BA. A BA will also ask you all these questions were like a child that asks you, mommy, why, daddy, why? And every why will lead to every why, another why. But how can I do it? But why should you do it? Okay, if I don't do it, what's going to happen? All that. Now, someone is asking me, how do I get to London? From where? And I can give you various options. You can drive down, you can take train, maybe you can even fly down there. You can drive to the train station, park your car, and drive. So you can use mixed mode transportation. And these are various options. So you choose which one benefits you, and every option will be highlighted out. So if you drive down, number one, you need to have a car, you need to buy fuel. Let's do the cost benefit analysis. Let's do the cost estimation. How much fuel would you need to get to London? It depends on where you're traveling from and what part of London you're going. And that's me as a BA. I do the cost analysis for you that it will cost you XYZ, all right, to buy fuel, okay? Think of mileage on your car and think of maybe the wear and tear. That's parked to the side. So there are benefits to it. Benefits to it is that you can leave anytime you like, right? You can stop over if you want on the road. You can sleep. You can even have some food, and you can get there as you will. Now, that's one. With all the risks and benefits, if there's any risk to it, maybe there may be traffic. You may get there late. There'll be traffic on the road, depending on the time you're going. So I will help you to identify all the options with the benefits, the risks, and the cost implication of it as well. If you take a train will cost you this. Train doesn't have traffic, but you have to adhere to the time of the train. So you can't leave anytime you like. You have to leave at the time the train wants to leave. So you got to wake up and then get to the train station. Now, if you're flying down, it has its own benefit, it has its own sort of flaws and all that. But then it's now up to you, as my client, to now decide which one you think is fit for purpose. Whether cost-wise, oh, I can't afford this, this is better, this is cheaper and it's good for me. But this has more risk. And this is what we mean by all the options a BA helps to deliver in every project. That's how it should be. But does it really work like that in reality? No, I'll tell you that. I've been in the industry, companies behave the way they like. But that's the ideal way of doing things. Then these options are what we call projects in the real sense. All right, a PM then helps to deliver the option selected by the client, by the business. Okay. Any question? All right, someone is raising that. Let me just quickly answer that. I know we have a lot to cover, but it's better well done than. Yeah, please go ahead, Mr. Sunday. Quickly, if you have a question. All right. I don't think I can hear Mr. Sunday. If you can't talk, you can always type a person on the chat platform as well. I believe we understand where the chat is on your control panel. Chat is there. You can send the chat and I can read it and just answer.
Thank you, Mr. Joe.
You're welcome, sir.
Yeah, please, I want to get something clear in respect of the difference between, is there any difference between business analyst and financial business analyst in an organization?
All right, thank you. Isimeme, are you there? I just want to give.
Hi, hello, yes, I'm here.
All right, thank you. Can you please repeat that?
So can you throw that question again, please? So what did you call the business analyst and the financial analyst?
Yes, that is in an organization. If they have a
Yes,
business analyst and
yep.
the person doesn't have a financial background in terms of the cost analysis and other things, is there idea for that organization to employ another financial business analyst, or
So
every business analyst can work in capacity of a financial business analyst? Thank you.
yes, thank you very much. That's a very good question. And I don't think, from my perspective, from my experience, a business analyst doesn't have to be a financial business analyst. So when you say financial business analyst, that means you are becoming very, very specialized. You are making it a specialized role. And these days you hear roles like Salesforce business analyst, all kinds of things like you just mentioned, financial business analyst. So if an organization need a financial business analyst, they can go ahead for one and get one. Because as a business analyst, for me, I believe in having a more generalized role as a business analyst, whereby you can fit into anything that you want to do. If you're asked to do kind of financial analysis, you can do it and anything. But there are times that it's become very, very specific and specialized, and they need someone with financial background who also have some BA techniques or skills, and then they can call such a person a financial business analyst. But you being a business analyst in an organization, does it automatically make you a financial business analyst? I don't know if that has answered your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. If that answers your question, just to buttress on that, there are a lot of analysis roles in organizations, right? A data analyst, it's a data analyst, right? A BA with data experience, right, can do a bit of what a data analyst would do. Like you can have an hybrid role. I do that, right? I'm a business intelligence analyst because I have the data background. But that doesn't make every BA a data analyst, right? So your experience matters. And that's what that point, that really relates to what I've said earlier. Like generally when you're on a career path, if your career path relates, right, we should pretty much, one of my sort of lesson learned that I've learned from people, you know, that have gone ahead of me is that make every day, right, a training ground, right? Make your career life a lifelong training platform, lifelong learning platform. You can't just say, I know this and I just want to relax. I know enough. No. Business analysts learn more. We gain more knowledge. A business analyst that has security knowledge today, they have data experience next year. Some people are looking into how to, you know, bigger project experience. You're looking into the financial aspect, like you said. I worked with a BA that from an accounting background. So when you talk of accounting or financial projects, we put him on such a project because he's got an accounting background. And again, I would like to say this on that note, that every of your previous experience, like I said, I'm coming from an engineering background. Now, I got my first BA job with my engineering experience, surprisingly. Now, I've trained people that has transportation experience. In fact, I trained someone, he used to work with Lamata. in Lagos, Nigeria, came to UK, did this project business analysis, and I asked him, you know what, we've done a lot of project-related experience. Transport for London does the same, right? They do, transportation projects. There are a lot of IT, there are a lot of business analysts that has those experience that are needed. Put on your CV. There's a way we can package the CV with all that. And the guy, that's how the guy got a transport industry as a sort of work as a BA because of his transportation experience with Lamata, or whatever they call it in Lagos. All these people that does this motoring of vehicle stuff. I think it's Lamata. I think so. Right. And that's just the experience. So any previous experience you have may be related. People with healthcare experience have done BA and project management working with NHS, because some roles will specifically tell you we need a BA with healthcare experience. So a business financial analyst is a business financial analyst. The business analyst there, right, may be common to a business analyst, but it's just got that financial experience. It doesn't mean all BAs can be, and it doesn't mean the person is a BA. But your financial background may be useful. Your construction background is needed. Any background you have is needed as a BA. Now, why am I saying that? Because a BA doesn't work in an industry. So any previous experience you have is well needed to be packaged in your CV, because that is what will point you as maybe the right candidate for some jobs. I don't know if you get what I mean. So if you have more time, maybe not today's session, maybe any other session, or if you sort of relate with us fully after this session, I'll be able to tell you or show you jobs depending on sort of what background you have. Right. Overview of business analysis. Can we forget any other question? Can we crack on? All right. Thank you. Right. Overview of business analysis. So we've talked about what business analysis is. We've talked about the different sort of roles of a BA, how they come in, how they help in defining options, and how that leads to a project. Now, but in general, right, BAs, we use what we call techniques and tools. Everything about business analysis is all about techniques and tools. There's no work we're doing. As we are in a meeting now, if this was to be a project meeting, we might be running a workshop, so to say. This is what we're doing. We might be brainstorming. Everything is using a technique and a tool to deliver your work. So business analysis is all about techniques. So when you read BA books, you read about technique tools, right? So now some of the techniques, everything you say about BA, like I'll be sharing from this slide on, will be a technique or the other. Now, for example, a BA, as I said there, it's a research discipline basically that helps to identify a business need. Either the business knows the need, they know what they have. I don't assume they know. I need to ask them that they really know what the problem is. If they don't know, I will know when I'm having that session with them. And once I've dealt with one, now that may spiral up to more people to really understand better. Someone is telling you that I need this to be delivered for the business. Is the person going to be using it? No. Who is going to be using that system after it's delivered? You need to speak with everybody. And I'm going to be talking about that soon. So that initial stage of a BA job, in fact, your primary role, the first thing you do. Now, the first thing you do may not be investigating situation, but it's your core responsibility. It may be identifying, like I always say, every project, identify your stakeholder. You need to know who to talk to first. Someone has told you to do something. The first thing, I need to talk to somebody. Maybe the person who's told me to do it, and that's called a stakeholder. Again, we'll go through that later. First thing, technique as a BA is investigating situation, or what you call, some people will call it differently. We call it discovery session, or call it requirement elicitation session, or now some people will call it an investigation session or discovery session. What you're doing there is you want to investigate the situation. That's the initial stage of your research. Your research, like I said, is not just online. It's not just going to Google and research. No, it might be talking to people. There are different ways of doing things, and that's why we have different techniques to carry our job. So, like I said, investigating situation. There are two sides to investigating a situation. There is a quantitative side, quantitative techniques that you could use, and there's the qualitative side. So there are two parts to that. Now, so the qualitative sort of approach of investigating situation or of gathering requirements or running the discovery session has some techniques embedded under it, right? Qualitative because it brings out results. It brings out quality results, not results that are statistical in nature. The difference between the qualitative there and the quantitative is quantitative brings statistical result. It brings up data that are statistical in nature, right? Like when you run a poll, like the poll I ran earlier, I asked such question and I said 87% said this, right? While 13% said the other. That is a result based on figure. It's a statistical result. It's based on number. So that quantitative approach of getting a result, because it brings up numbers, right? Qualitative doesn't deal with figures. It brings up quality outcomes in writing. And that's the two. So there are techniques that your outcome are written down, right? Or are conversations, right? Like words from people that you have to note down and ask questions before you can get it. If you don't elicit, if you don't ask the right question, you can't get something out of people. You can't really elicit anything out. And those falls under the quantitative. I'm going to run through them shortly, just to give you an overview. And there's some that are quantitative. Example of qualitative, for example, could mean a workshop like we're doing now. You're having an interview with someone, you sit one-on-one with someone and asking them questions. Why are you going into that business? Can I just ask you why? You have to have a reason. Well, I just want to do it. Well, you're not ready yet. You just want to do it. Is it because people are doing it, or because you want to do it differently, or because you have a gap somewhere? Oh, I've seen a gap in Preston. I think there is need for an African restaurant there. I have a good reason. But you're not doing it because, oh, I think people are making money there. You're not ready yet, because then that may be your reason. But again, who will be your target audience? Are they available within the environment? Are they there? How would you do it differently? Who are the people that will run the business with you? Do you have the capacity? Do you have the capability? Or do you have people with the skill set to run it? Do you have the tools to use? Do you have the financial capability? Have you got the structure, the physical infrastructure? Various questions I may ask. And when I'm doing that, I'm either running a workshop or having an interview with one person. So what sort of technique approach am I using? A qualitative approach technique. But then it's not really the technique name, it's just the approach. I'm going to break down, I'm just giving an example here. Interview, workshop, shadowing, observation, all those are qualitative examples. Now, quantitative, when you run a survey, you do questionnaire, like the poll we did just now, all those are quantitative. Data analysis, you do document analysis follows that quantitative, but when you do data analysis or document analysis that brings up figure or data sampling, those are quantitative, because data sampling brings up, you need a report and fetch out a report, then you need to analyze the report to bring up some statistical results that falls under the could fall under the quantitative, depending on the approach, or fall under the qualitative, depending on the approach again, what sort of results you're getting at, right? When you're getting statistical results that regards to figures, it's a quantitative approach you're using. But again, that's not the name. We'll deal with the name later. That's first thing. You got to investigate, but while you're investigating, right, you need to consider perspective. That's the stakeholder management, identification and management section. You need it. In fact, the first thing on every project. First thing on everything is I need people to talk to. It's not as complex as I'm explaining it, but because it's theoretical, you got to understand things you need to know. It's it may be by default. Now, I'll give you an example. Now, whatever you're doing now, if they ask you to do something, you know who to approach, isn't it? I believe the answer should be yes. If you don't know, then you ask somebody, oh, I need to get this information. Who do you think can give me that information? Someone will tell you. Everybody does that every day. Even in life, your daily life, you're running your daily life. You want to do something, you ask. Even your energy bill, you need to know, oh, how do I get this energy bill? How do I get this cheaper? Oh, where did they sell it? You ask people for things. It's normal in life. You move to a new environment, you got to ask. You're going on the road, you don't know, you got to ask. And that's how we run. So if you don't know, you ask. And while you are asking, you are identifying who to talk to. Stakeholder identification could be done in different ways by asking. It could be, again, project document could give you who to talk to. If you add a project document, a project mandate, there'll be some names of stakeholders there and roles defined. Then okay, yeah, that's the project sponsor. I'm going to talk to that person. Oh, that's the project manager. I'm going to talk to that person. That's in on the document. It may be on the business case. It may be on the lesson learned law. It may be on the org structure. You're doing a project for finance. Go to the org structure of the company. Who is the finance lead? Then go to that person. So either you have a document to point to, or you ask somebody. That's called nomination, right? Again, that's detailed a bit down the line, but it's very important to talk to people and to talk to the right person. I've seen people running calls on a project, or you want to do something, you now gather people together, and everybody on the call is their wrong people, right? You need to know how to get a cheaper energy bill. You're calling somebody that doesn't even know what energy bill is all about. So you're talking to the wrong person. So it's always good per time to talk to the right set of people. And that's where stakeholder identification is key. Because I've seen people running projects, the first 3 days or first set of days on the project were all wasted time. I've seen people setting up a call, 1 hour call, set the call 2 weeks ago, right? 2 weeks before the call, rather, right? The call was set 2 weeks before, so everybody accepted. They didn't know what it was all about. The person made a lot of mistakes, right? He didn't set up agenda on the call, because if you set up agenda on the call, it said people have read the agenda. No, that's not for me. That's for XYZ. They will have helped you to nominate or to identify who to talk to. So he set up the call 2 weeks before the call. On the call day, which is like an interview or a workshop session, now there are a lot of people on it. So now everybody now joined. Okay, what are we talking about here? And then you throw it up, you'll be like, no, that's not for me. That everybody's like, that's not for me. Within 5 minutes, everybody has to drop out. No, that's not for me. I don't know about what you're talking about. That's a wrong, in fact, it's the biggest mistake anybody can make in an organization, right? Well, one of the biggest, anyway, one of very big mistake, may not be big, but one of a very great mistake people make. But now, what error has the person made there? The person has failed to identify the right people to be at the call. So that's what second is key. You need to know, who do I need to talk to? And that's the initial phase of a BA. Before you start your investigation, know the person first. You can't just call people and start asking them wrong questions. Be like, now, if it's just to make a call or send a chat, I can say, oh, I'm working on this, and please, could you please point me to the right person to talk to? This is what I need. I need someone to do the UX design for this checkout. I did that recently. I had to send a message to the head of the UX designers in my organization. I said, now, could you please help me? Who deals with the checkout with design? We need to redesign so web checkout. And the guy said, oh, yeah, that's that person. Okay, so I now went to that person. So what I've done there is approach somebody to nominate for me the person to talk to before I can even start the investigation, right? So we do a lot of stakeholder management, analysis, identification, analysis, and management. Then we do a lot of meetings or approaches, a lot of techniques we use, not just meetings, because like I said, a lot of techniques to elicit our requirement, to elicit the need, to get facts out of people. BAs work with facts. Now, if a BA makes mistake of getting fact out of a problem, the whole project is on a wrong tangent. It's going on a wrong tangent. The project is already heading towards failure. Everything, most important facts on the project comes from the BA. So if the information is wrong, the project is wrong from the beginning. And that's why the BA is key to delivering of projects in organizations. If you have any question as I'm going through, please raise your hand. Now, after I've identified, I've analyzed, I've investigated, I've elicited some facts out, I need them to do some analysis. That's where the bits entails. So analysis here will be when you now filtering your information, right? There's a lot embedded in it. Filtering the information to see, there's a lot of back and forth in the investigation section as well. You're asking questions, whatever information you have, you've got to then analyze it, break it down. What does this mean to the project? Where does this sit within the project? Is this something that we have to do? Is it something that is optional? We do what we call requirement analysis, right? Where you break it down into by categories of importance, basically. How important is that requirement? We call that requirement prioritization. You prioritize it. The law of prioritization sort of techniques you could use, the most common is must-go. Is it a must? Is it a should do? Is it something that is necessary? Will it add value to the project? Or is it something that is a nice to have? Or maybe, yeah, we can have it, but it's not really, it doesn't add any value to the business. We can do that later in a different phase of the project. You've got to be able to break that down and then prioritize them. Then while you are prioritizing them, again, after the prioritization, you've got to identify which one needs what. Now, this is where the bits embedded. So analysis stage is where you break it down. Analysis stage is when you then reinterpret it. Translation. So we talk to people, we understand facts, we then translate the facts into meaningful formats. And that's where the job of the BM that's the beauty of the job. You then translate it into a meaningful way, meaningful format for the techie world, for the techie people. Don't forget I said we are connectors. BA connects the whole functional area of the business, right? So you're talking to different people and you're presenting to different people. So your documentation should be destination centric. should be the recipient centric, basically. Who am I sending it to? That dictates what sort of document I'm creating. And that's the beauty, that's the real job, the fact out or the real flesh of a BA job. Does anybody wants to say anything? I can hear some noise background. And that's where the analysis is embedded. So you filter out, break down your requirements, prioritize your requirement, identify the type of requirements you have, then flesh it out in terms of fleshing it out, like explain it better. Don't forget, when you're talking to people, you're probably taking notes. This is where you then document it, arrange it properly. And this documentation place has different types of document. There's a different ways of documenting. Requirement can come from three different approaches, or three different, there are three styles to every requirement, up to every fact you find out, but the real word for it is requirement. That's terminology, right? It could be user-centric, can be process-driven, or can be data-related. So there are three different concepts. Every requirement needs to be observed or be identified or be analyzed from these 3 points of view. From the user's perspective, is it something that relates to people? Would people be doing something, or will it affect people? Does it relate with people too? Is there any process embedded in this? Is it a process-related or process-driven requirement? Right? Does the requirement require data? Am I capturing data from somebody? Right? Or when they implement that requirement, will it be capturing data, or will it be sending data out? Will it be receiving or sending? Does it have any data element? And those three aspects of every requirement dictate the kind of documents you will do. And that's where you see the likes of user stories, use case diagram. Those are user-centric requirement aspects. Those are the user concept or user aspect of the requirement you're doing. That's where you hear the likes of process map. That's the process aspect of requirement. A requirement can just be process-driven requirement. It has no user embedded. Or the project is about process improvement. So you are capturing requirements that are process related. All you're doing there is a process-driven document, which is a process map, a flowchart, or whatever you call it. Now, if it's a user-centric requirement, you're doing user-related. So that's where your requirement dictates the document. Data modeling, data dictionary, and whatever are related. But again, not every BA will do that. So don't let me get you confused. It's needed. You need to know it. You may not be doing it, because not every BAs are data related. But those are the three aspects you're looking at in the analysis. Apart from your normal requirement documentation, which could be user story, could be BRD, like we call it business requirement document, or what we call requirement catalog. That's where you break it down. You may have to do further documents like process-related document, process maps, or what you call the flow chart, or some people call the swim lane diagram, or and so on and so forth. Or your data side of it, if it's data related, you may have to do some data modeling or some class diagram, whatever sort of documents you require. And that is where the skill sets required from a BA, it's more fleshy.
So,
right?
I was going to ask something. I was trying to raise my hand. I can't find it. I think I'm not techy enough.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I couldn't find where to raise my hand. Sorry. So I was just trying to add something. Yeah, what you're saying, like business analysis, for which we should understand, it's got different levels. And I've spoken. I was trying to. There's someone in my organization who have just transitioned from being in the business into becoming a business analyst, and she reached out to my manager, and then my manager sent her to me. She said, Nigeria as well. She said, okay, speak to so guy, he's good, he can help you. And then I told her what she needed to know. We interviewed her, and I gave her a chance as a junior business analyst. She's not in my team. So what I'm saying is that we need to understand business analysis. And for example, by privilege, I have interviewed a lot of people recently, and I do sit in interviews to interview people to bring people to our organization. And I've seen people come into interviews, and what they talk about is requirements. And I'm saying, excuse me, stop it. I don't want to know about requirement, because what are we looking for requirements for? In order for us to look, if you look at it, the word business analysis just define what our role is as a business, and it has a different layers. That's what I'm talking about. There are people who are experienced enough who can do what's called strategic analysis. Now, when you come into an organization, if you want to make a change, I want to understand what was the impact of your change. For example, for who, for why, and for when. Those are the questions. So have what is called the 5 whys, where you need to kind of analyze and get to the root cause when Joe talks about identifying a problem and then finding an option and then giving it to your project manager to deliver. Now, in order for you, before you can find an option, you need to understand what's the root cause. For example, I'll tell people that there's an example that someone make, like if you say that, if you have a staff in your team as a manager that comes to work late every time, and you're asking them, why are you coming to work late? Oh, sorry, because my car was faulty. Now, you think you cannot just go ahead and say, okay, oh, let's solve this problem. Well, how do you solve that? That's just at a very, very helicopter level. Now, you need to ask questions. Oh, what happened? What's wrong with your car? Because the battery is old. Well, why is that? Why you should change it? Why have you to change it? I've been thinking about changing it for a while and I've not been able to. Why is that? Because I'm struggling financially. And why are you struggling financially? Because my salary is not good enough. You see what we mean? So coming from the problem of getting to work late, you've done a bit of analysis downward to understand that the actual cost of that person coming to work late is lack of salary and not salary. So what do you address? You address the salary issue. To say, okay, let's give this guy a raise. Now that is where you as a business analyst will then recommend to say, I think this person can improve his coming to work if we increase the salary by 10%. You can then go forward to say, okay, how many percentage will you get that will make your life better? How much more can you get in a month that will make your life better? That's now become requirements because you're not asking what do we do to solve that root cause problem. Because after you've identified the root cause, you're not looking for the things that will address it. Now, a lot of business analysts, they make mistake by hearing that, oh, well, the person is coming to work late. Okay, what do we do? When I find someone to go and pick them up from home, no, you are not solving the problem. It's like going to a doctor. I use the example of medical doctors sometimes, like going to a doctor and say, well, I woke up and my eyes itching me, I have colors, my eyes color and all of that, and the doctor look into your eyes and give you eye drop without checking your vital signs, without checking what's really wrong with you, take your blood and do some kind of proper diagnosis. Now, if you haven't done that, you give them eye drop and they keep putting it into their eyes, they might end up being blind because they don't have a problem with their eyes. You only complicated the problem. So what do? You diagnose them and then you find out that this person actually have a fever. If you treat the fever, what happens? The color of the eye naturally regulates. So business analysis is about defining, analyzing, actually finding out the root cause, the problem behind, because it's an investigative role and there are so many techniques to get to this point. You can start from strategy. Maybe a day will come whereby we start to take techniques from techniques and then get to where we get to. From the interview point of view is that I'm just saying because I know there are so many people here. When you go into an interview and you start to, for example, one question that I asked someone one day was, giving them your customer, for example, and I'm coming to you and I'm saying, oh, well, I want to be able to, I need a car to get to work by 8 a.m. How would you approach me as a business analyst? Oh, I want to know the color of the car, the speed of the car. You have failed. You know what I mean? You've failed. You know, you're not going anywhere. No one is going to give a job or a real business analyst that knows what they're doing. But the thing is that there are so many kind of business analysts anyway. Nobody's going to give you a job because you are not doing the job. You are just jumping into solutioning. And in my organization, we frown against jumping into solutioning. You must nail down the problem first. What is the problem? What are we solving? Who are we solving it for? Who is it impacting? This is where analysis come in. But most business analysts, I would say today, we call them order takers. They are not business analysts. They go to the business analyst, the business tell them, I want a new system that can. You are not asking them the why question. Now, the why question is the analysis. Oh, why do you need a new system? What is wrong with what you've got? What challenges are you having? What makes that challenge? What else have you tried? Have you tried any other option? Have you tried shutting down the system and have you tried restarting the server? You ask more questions to understand what is actually wrong, and that is where you form your basis. When you get to that level of confidence, where you start to look into the business people and then challenge the status quo, challenge the norm, and say, why are you doing this? But what change do you have to make? I'll give an example. When I in my current organization, when I started to work, one of the impact that I made that kind of made them say, oh wow, this guy is good, was a project I was given. They had this culture of going straight into a piece of work. And as I started to gain experience and I was going, I said, I don't want to work like this anymore. So I was given a change. They said, well, they've got 400 and about $500,000 to build a new system, whatever. So Ambrose, go and do this, do this. So I just do the governance. I'm like, I don't want to be another taker. I said to the lead BA then, they say, can you allow me to do a bit of analysis, please? He said, yeah. I said, I can't do this in 2 weeks. I need a bit more time, but I feel like I need to get deep into the root cause of this problem. And they say, yeah, go ahead. So I asked for the time. They gave it to me. And I went ahead. I started to talk to the people, talk to business, and the sponsor had the money. I just feel like I wanted to spend the money, maybe wanted more budget. Oh, Ambrose, don't worry, the money is there. Go ahead. We got 500K. When do we need to do that? I can give you cost code. You can just go ahead. I said, yes, please, boss, sir. No, sir, but we don't use that here. But I need time to do this work, and I'll tell you what the problem is. So while doing the analysis, I started to ask questions. Then I said, okay, I want to see your process. Do you have a process map? No. Let's start from there. Let's map out your process and see where you interconnect. So while we did the process mapping, talking to the field engineers, because there were people in the office, there were people on the field, everybody. So we spoke to them and we understood that the problem they thought they had was lack of communication. Some people were actually doing the task in a different function, but because these people do not communicate with them, they thought it was a problem. So I said to them, this is why this thing is not done here. Okay, I don't want to give more detail because it's a private thing. It was kind of like a data issue. You cannot allow some third party have access to some level of data because of consent. So when your process gets to this stage, you need to then transfer it to a team who have the right to process the customer data at that level. So because this third party did not know that because of consent issue, that is why their process stopped there. They thought that they needed the system that would give them the right to do that. Meanwhile, it was supposed to be a handshake, a handoff. So mapping out this process and handing over, and I presented it to them to say, okay, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is where your process stopped. And these are the people that communicate, that picks it up from there. What you need to do is to have a better communication with this team so that when it gets here, you have an SLA to say, okay, we need you to come back to us with this level of information so that we can carry out our job at also time, then this process can be solved. At that point, the project was stopped and we did not have to progress. That is business analysis in summary. Now,
Right.
if I went in,
because of the time, you see, because of the time, we go through that in detail. I think let me cover this there. When I finish business analysis, then we can do that. But that may be a bit high level for some people that have not really understood, the details. That's what I'm thinking here. So,
but what I'm trying to say, Joe, is that because of, I know what you say, but if we go, what we are going to right now is techniques, really, right? People jump into techniques, and I feel like if you don't understand that foundation, you might not understand how to even use these techniques.
Yeah, so it depends. I will tie what you said up with something I've said earlier. I mentioned earlier, if you cannot hear me, that business solution projects kind of differs. So a lot of people, from what this is saying here, is a lot of people always think, like I said earlier as well, business analysis is all about all the software, and that's where the mistake is coming from. But I always say to people, those are half-baked BAs. An half-baked BA is someone that believes business analysis is all about writing user story and doing what do you call it, activity diagram, mock-ups for software. That's not a BA. In fact, well, they may be a BA, but they are half-baked. They don't know much. And those people will not understand what Isimeme is talking about root cause. Because the reason why I said that is, again, I mentioned earlier, a BA should come in earlier. Now, if you bring a BA to a project to come and implement the software, all they do is they just gather a requirement, write user story, and then pass it on to, and that's it. And that's what some people think, and that's what they know. I've worked with BAs that all they know is process mapping. In fact, I've worked with a BA, I mentioned use case. The guy was asking me, use case, what's that? I said, are you joking? I had to ask the guy, when did you become a BA and how? He said he's never heard the word use case in his all his life. Okay, I said, okay, fine. I defined the use case. And now, we're not talking about UMLs, use case diagram, activity diagram. He said he's never heard UML before. The word UML. He said, what does it mean? Now, that's a business analyst that's been working for an organization for I don't know how many years before we met at the same organization. So people understand BA from different concepts and from different point of view. So what Isimeme is trying to say here is the real BA, like I said earlier, it's a research discipline. It's not just about software. Now, if you're working in a software company or if you get a job that allows you to just do software, now what Isimeme is saying may not be related to organization, but it doesn't mean you are a full BA. You might get to some environment where you can't really function. It just means that you have limitations. And a lot of people that have done BA trainings, I mean, the fact is, we know this, that those of us in the industry, some of them, like this is said, they will come to you for an interview and you'll be surprised at what they're telling you. And that's what you're trying to say. So you'll be surprised because who taught them or who gave them the information did not give them a robust information. They don't know much. All they know is a BA writes that story and does this, and that's it. That's the package their CV, apply for a job, you call them in, and what they are telling you is not what you're expecting, because you expect an in-depth business analyst, but not everybody is. And that's why I said knowledge should be key. You should learn every day, learn from people, read and understand the discipline you are in or the career path you are in. You don't just sit down and say, oh, I know all. No, nobody knows all. No matter, regardless of level of experience, I still learn a lot. If I don't know, I don't think I know 1/10 of what I should know, because it's too wide to believe you know it all. Does that make sense, Issy?
Sorry, I was on mute. Definitely, I agree with you, Joe, 100%.
Okay, so let's back on from the initial stage, right? All this will make sense later. You know, I did say investigating situation has different techniques, right? But you need to understand, like I said earlier, the BAs don't just work on softwares, right? Like you see, Meme said, those projects that the example he was giving, they are not software related. Even if it is, then again, I must mention, it depends on the organization, but you know what you need to know. That's the key thing here. Now, I know what I know. An organization may not need all you know, and you can challenge them, right? Hopefully, you challenge the right people. I've seen a BA that was challenging an organization. They made our life very tough, because now, again, it might be, I'm not saying the person, people are racist or whatever. She was correcting people that were above her because she knows what she should know, and they were doing things wrongly. And they have to tell her, no, that's not how we do things here. We do things this way. But they were doing it in the wrong way. But they didn't let her, they didn't want to allow her to change. They allowed her to change certain things about their documentation and approach to business projects, but they didn't want her to change everything. And they wanted to make her life very tough, frustrate her out of the job. So again, it depends on where you are, but know what you need to know. I've been in an organization where I was challenging their project approach in general, projects. Now, when we talk of project, I don't just BA, the full project approach in the entire program office. I was challenging it. But then they were not ready to. They said that's their way of working. Yeah, it doesn't matter how you drive as long as you don't have accidents, right? You drive the UK way, you drive the Indian way, or you drive the Nigerian way. As long as you don't have accident, that's their problem. And they insisted that that's how they work. Okay, so the question there is, or the point where the question is, do I want to stay there and be robbed of a wrong approach and get used to it and forget about my, or just find my way out and go to a different place? So you may have options, because I will tell you that big organizations, big names, big multinational companies, you'll be surprised at how they work. I used to say to people, some companies have big names. When you get there, you'll be surprised. In fact, what you think you know, they don't do it that way, and that's the reality of things. But it shouldn't limit your own knowledge because of how an organization operates. Now, the real thing is what we're going to deliver, but where you're working, where you're going to work, doesn't really matter how they work. You may try to influence them if they allow you to, right? So business analysis is a research discipline, like I said. It's you have to investigate the law. There's a law, like Meme said, the 5 whys. You got to ask detailed questions to understand. I was given a task recently about some improvements, and I set up a meeting, and I had a similar approach. I had similar experience, like Meme said. I wanted to investigate deeper. Why are we doing this? Do we really need to do it? Has anybody looked into it? You can't just conclude into developing or creating something. So I had to do my own sort of system analysis and created a lot of scenarios and found out, okay, some things were right, something were right. But again, you got to do impact analysis. Someone said, go and get me this. You're just running like chicken egg, blah, blah, blah. And then you can pull out just a piece of a block from a old castle. You can pull out a block that will collapse the whole building. And that's what the power of a BA is. They're trying to pull out a brick, but you want to do that. When you pull that out brick, what will be affected? Will that affect the structure? And I believe that's part of what he's saying. You got to find the root cause, not just the impact analysis. So you want to make a change. What will the change impact? That's what I was trying to do. But the organization was like, no, it doesn't really matter. Just no. I said, no, it does matter. What's the business benefit in doing something and not doing it well? Then I now found out that out of the 5 things we wanted to do, at least we made headway with 4. But they discovered that one of them should not be done at all. But then there was a benefit to me running an impact analysis session to see who will this impact. You can't just make a change and not check the impact on other functional areas of the business. And again, that's where detail as a business analyst, you don't just jump. They don't ask you to do a task and you jump at it and start running. Now you got to know your beats and have a full grip of your beats, right? That you should need to know your techniques and tools, and then deploy it at the right time. Again, that's where detail down the line, not today's session, that to really understand the detail. This is just to give us an overview of what all this, what this sort of two subject area entails. What do they really do? What do I need to know to really get in line? And what sort of jobs can I really do if I know all this? And then down the line, if you need more, then we can then talk of what next after. Now, so investigating situations, so like different techniques, like this is saying, you got to do that part. It's very important before you jump ahead. And that's why I said again, sometimes some business go ahead without a BA. You got to relate with stakeholders to really investigate the situation. You need people, or you need system, or when there are no people and there's no system, then that's when you look for similar systems. If it's a system you're building that doesn't exist, you can do your own research about something similar out there online. Analysis is needed. That's where you do all your translation, like I was explaining earlier. Now, then you have options. Everything you are analyzing should bring out at least one or two options. Look at all possible options available. And then when you're doing your options, evaluating the solution option, that is when you create a business case. A business case, again, how many BAs create business case? That's the question, you see. How many organizations allow you to even do all this? They want to sort of do things their own way, just run and just get things done. But again, when it fails, that's when they realize that they shouldn't have done it. But now, if big people make a decision and it fails, they won't talk. They'll just roll it under the carpet. I've been to organizations that wasted millions, millions of pounds. But it was because the director that made the mistake. They didn't allow the normal process. But there are certain words that you don't use in that organization. It's like a trauma. There's a word, that's what they call that project. That word became like forbidden in the organization. When you mention it, triggers some reaction because that was the name of the project anyway. But it failed because they didn't follow the right approach. So evaluating solution option is very critical. Where you identify option, you shortlist the option, prepare and present the business case. Business case then contains all the options available with their, their benefits, the risk attached to it, the impacts on the business, on any aspect of business, and the cost benefit analysis, what we call the financial appraiser for each of the options. So the organization, like I explained earlier about how to travel to London in my example, that there are different ways to eat, there are different ways, but again, it has different cost implications where the business can then make a decision. The option there is what gives birth to the project. It's the option of the business case that should now arise as to we need to do this. And then the project manager should now be assigned a project team created, then they now forge with the business. Then when requirement capturing and all the rest now happens, and you then do all the rest of the bits. Then at the end of the day, I've mentioned again, change management and benefit management is very critical. You don't put a change to organization without, a change is a project. You're introducing a new system. Nobody is used to it. Are there people to use it? There's a change process, right? How do you inform the people that something is coming on the way? How do you prepare them ahead to create the awareness and make them prepare? The training, running them through the system, allowing them to ask questions of different aspects, which can give birth to different ways of, updating or improving on the project you're working on. Have you created all that already? Have you allowed that in your project sort of life cycle, in your project process of delivering the project, in your implementation process or your project delivery process? Is that allowed? Change management, are you considering people? You don't just come tomorrow and say, guys, yeah, we're closing this place. This is where you're going to be working now. Or this is the system you're going to be using. When did that start? When did you start bringing out? Did you just wake up today and just bought the system? No, it must have been in the pipeline. Then make people aware, manage the expectation of the people, manage the change. A project can change an organization. It may give birth to a new department. I've worked on projects like that. Some projects may require new skill sets. People need to be trained for it, right? So you've got to prepare them ahead. Some projects may mean a new department is created or people need to be recruited with new skill sets to train other people. So all this needs to be considered. And then at the end of the day, you do the benefit realization, like I said, as the change, as the project made any difference to the organization. What was the objective of the project before you started? What was it meant to address? What was meant to be solved? What was the organization looking to achieve? Have they actually achieved it? That's the benefits. Have they achieved it? You have to be able to measure that. Not on the day of implementing the project, of delivering the project, but down the line, maybe 6 months after. You go run a session to see how are people finding the change. Are they coping with it? Are they now flowing with it? Has it made their life easier? If it's something to do with a system that people are using, do they prefer the old way of working or the new way of working? As the project targeted towards improving the sales revenue of a business, has it really increased the sales revenue in reality? And at what percentage has it increased? Is there anything that needs to be done, right, to make that change or that project work better? Maybe people are not used to it yet. They may need more training. That may arise at more things to be done on the project as well, on whatever change you've implemented, and it makes the life of people a lot easier. That pretty much summarizes what business analysis is all about. Now, the next set of slides I'm going to be going through before we wrap that up, and I'll allow for someone wants to ask question. Before I do that, I was going to give us like 5 minutes break if it's needed. Okay, please go ahead. Mr. Michael.
Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello, Joe.
Hello, Mr. Michael.
Yeah, hello. In a situation whereby a project fails, what does the BA do in that regard?
Why did the project
When a
fail?
project fails, so what should a BA do?
You see, Meme?
So sorry, that's a big vague. I mean, like it's quite big. Why does the project fail? The question that Joe had asked, and at what stage did the project fail? So that would determine the answer you get.
Yeah, because that's why did the project fail? If the project failed, did the project fail from the beginning? Was it the fault of a BA? Because when a project fails, sometimes it falls on the lap. Now, in my previous organization, every BA is a project manager. Like I always say, BA is a PM. We call it small works. Any projects that can be implemented that within up to 6 months, between 0 to 6 months, can be managed by BA. So because we had hundreds of projects, so BA can self-manage, right? That's sort of a failure of such a project. If it falls on the lap of a BA to coordinate, then it falls on the lap of a BA. Now, if a project is being coordinated by a proper project manager, right? Now, a project manager, it falls on the lap of a PM. The project
I think what Mike should tell us is that you have a specific example.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying.
Like, okay,
when it fails,
Yes, the project actually failed at the middle due to insufficient fund. So in that situation, what could someone have done?
So was the project budgeted for? Like when the project, for example, when the project comes for, and then we say how much do we think it's going to cost? We have what's called ROM at an early stage of a project. So what's the rough order of magnitude? How much do we think it's going to cost? At that time, we are not firming up the cost. But once we've got to that stage where we gather requirement and we've gone out to look at option, we know what we are delivering, and the project manager picks it up. We should then know how much we think is going to cost us from a change, from a resource, and all that, and we firm it up. If the project manager has cost it wrongly, and at the end of the day we overspend and it went out and we cannot pay for it, it's not the fault of the business analyst. You have done your job. The project manager refused to cost properly all the entire thing. So it's not you're not going to be blamed as a business analyst. The only time you can be blamed as a business analyst is if your requirement is poor, and at the end of the day we deliver something that is below quality. That's when fingers can be pointed at you. But at that stage that you mentioned, it's no fault of a business analyst. What happens to business analyst is that you can be deployed out of the project, maybe give your lesson learned, what you learned, why the project failed and all that, then deploy to different projects. You're not going to be thrown under the bus for that, from my experience.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you very much, Mr.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to look at that question you had, Mr. Michael, from a PM's point of view. Now, because we're looking at both subjects, right? So we can't blame the BA when a project has failed because the PM is managing it, right? So if you're asking that question from perspective of a PM, from people of a PM, like it's, do you have a budget now? Was there any budget for the project? Of course, every project should have one, right?
Yes.
So it should be bound by the cost, the time, and of course, all of that resources that you are going to look at that later. So project has failed at some point because for budget reasons, right? It failed on budget. So at
Exactly.
what point, what has changed that the PM refused to get a grip of ahead of time? Because that's what the PM is managing the resources. That's the people, with their time and the budget of the project. Delivering a project at the right budget and at the right time is the full responsibility of a PM. So now, if you have a full project plan and you've done your proper Gantt charts in Microsoft Project, all your tasks, pretty much work plan structure done, full blown into set of tasks, right? And you have your resource sheet already created. Now, your resource sheet should be created within the plan, which is attached. It's part of your project plan. Again, every resource is assigned a task. So you have all the tasks all done. And you have each resource budget or the resources sort of cost. Again, is within your resource sheet. So you should have a full view of your entire project, A to Z, looking at every task, how much each task costs you, who is doing what. And so what has changed along the line that the project manager hasn't tracked? That's called the project monitoring and controlling stage of the project. When you are monitoring and controlling, the project manager has lost grip of the project. Probably been carried away. Number one, the person didn't have a full project plan. There's no cost there's no cost sheet created, there's no resource sheet created. So we don't have a full project plan, or we have one and the person is just doing it. They're not monitoring and controlling the project. Because if the price of the material has changed and the project manager is really having to full view. So part of the resource includes human resource and your materials. So that material used to be, £1,000 per unit, and we budgeted for 10 units. Now along the line, we've discovered that we're going to need 20 units, right? Which means it's double the cost, right? Now, if I've monitored and controlled the project, I've updated it, I've seen the impact on the final budget, and I've escalated it. I've raised an exceptional report. I've raised the report straight, controlling management, controlling project stage. So I've raised the report, I've alerted the C levels, so they know. So before it happened, the project manager should have seen it. So if it failed, something is wrong. Something has gone wrong with the project manager's responsibility alone, that the person hasn't, except if the price just increased overnight. So we didn't know yesterday, we just got to know today, and maybe at the last stage of carrying out that activity, we just discovered that, okay, we have to spend the money, but then we spend the money as the project ended yet. No, we can still update and still alert people and see how we can either increase the budget, we have tolerance, increase the budget, or increase the duration of the project, hire more people, whatever needs to be done. We're going to look at that later anyway. The three constraints, how the three constraints affect each other, how we should act as project managers when something changes, one of the three constraints changes. All right, okay, someone else wants to ask questions. Okay. Okay. Please go ahead. Okay, you see Mr. Michael. Okay, all right. I think just lower your hand. That's it. Thank you. Now, please, if you think you need a break, 5 minutes break, please raise your hand. If you want us to continue, don't raise your hand. So I want to see who we want to go by the highest. Okay, we need a break. Two is still not enough. Some people are winning. So ask more people to raise hand if you need a break. Okay, just 2 people think we need a break. Okay, I'll give you so should we give the 2 people 2 minutes break?
I think 5 minutes. We cannot go into it.
Okay, let's come back at 1:55 by my own timing, depending on your location. Thank you very much. We'll come back and we'll just run through the techniques of BA, what the BA should know, and we look at a few skill sets pretty much, and any questions before we have another break. Well, before we move on to the PM. Then we now wrap everything up later. I know the time will be very tight for us, but let's try and do what we can do. Please, we're back 1:55. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Are we back now?
Hello, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right. So I believe majority of us are still around. So let's crack on with from where we stopped. So we've created some sort of background as to what business analysis is, who a business analyst is, the roles of the BA, the importance, with some examples of how important it is for us to understand in depth, to have an in-depth knowledge of business analysis, not just are pretty much not just at the water level, because that may just mean we don't we that may limit us as to where we can work. I've seen that in practice where people don't know much. But again, at whatever level you do know, initially, it doesn't really mean you have to be well grounded fully. You need to understand the basics, the important things you need to do, which is why we're here. Before you can, get your foot on the ladder, then there are other things you have to build on every day. We didn't all know, those of us, within the project sort of framework or within the project area of our IT or those of working within the IT industry, we didn't really start like that. Nobody knew everything from the beginning. So you have to know the basic, the important thing you need to know. Like Isimeme pointed out, because from it's dealing with people, interviews and all that, I do have a lot of experience with people, mispackaging or over packaging their CV as well. I can tell you a lot about that, but let's not dwell on that. We need to know what we need to know to get our foot on the ladder so that we can then begin to add to it. That's the all important. So please make this session make sense and add something to you so that you understand what you need to know. We still have a lot to cover. Right. So I'll be going into sort of, we'll be moving a bit faster now, just to cover some of the things, add flesh to some of the things we've talked about in explanation from the beginning about BA. Now, we've talked about BA creating solutions. So one of the benefits of a BA, of having a business analyst in any organization, of being a BA, is you are a solution sort of creator. You help to create solutions to business needs. You help to identify needs and create solutions. So we reduce waste. Again, without it being an organization, project will fail. A project fails for different reasons. Or an organization like Isimeme mentioned, there maybe doing something just because they want to do it, but they really need to do it. Having proper investigation within an area, having a good BA to really investigate situation may actually save you a lot of money and time. All the resources may be saved and just channel towards the right cause rather than just wasting it. Before the existence of a BA as a role, a lot of projects used to fail, and that's what gave birth to it. Now, we help as well to complete projects on time. Again, when you know what to do, things goes faster. When you don't know what to do, everybody just going around the cycle, just believing they know. I've been in an organization where they don't know the importance of BA. Again, some organizations have BAs, they don't even know what the BA should do. So you see BA being given some rubbish work, like you see Mehmet did mention as well. They will just pass something to you, as if you're just that person that dumping ground where every business stuff just goes to. Some organizations don't know. So you have to help them to know anyway. When we're working on projects, we complete project on time because we have to identify what needs to be done on the project. So the moment we identify that, everybody works and that's it, all done. Improve efficiency, and then we help in documentation for a project. Absolutely, that's our work. Challenges is that when you don't understand what to do, I always say to BAs, when you're asked to do something, proper understanding is the first, right? You need to understand what you're asked to do. And that is where asking questions, the relevant questions, preparing, knowing who to talk to and asking the right question from the right people, eliciting fact out helps to understand or to define the scope. Again, scope is just a terminology who talks about what needs to be done, the parameters or the perimeter surrounding the project, what needs to be delivered, what are the things that needs to be delivered, clarity of the scope of a business function or a project. If we lack the clarity of the scope, if you don't understand the project mandate, if you don't understand the objective, or you have no proper knowledge and you don't have the right skill sets, the confidence to ask people the right question, you ask one, you are scared of asking you're not a BA yet, because that means you've not gotten far and you're asking people to do the wrong thing. That's one of the biggest challenge. So you have to overcome that. Now, if you can't manage the requirement well, you don't know how to say no when you have to say no. Not everything that is asked is given. You need it doesn't mean we have to give it to you. I have to justify every requirement. Do we need to do it? And that's where Isu was saying as well. You have to ask the right question. Someone said, I need this. You need to know, why do you need it? It's just like a parent. Your child says, oh, I need a school bag. Why do you need a school bag? Why? Can I know why? Do you have one before? What has happened to that? Can I see it? You can analyze it and just find out that no, you don't need one. This is still okay. It's all okay because all my friends are no. Not because all your friends are having one, because you need one. So not every request will be granted by BA. I always say that to the business. Oh, you want to do this here? I will listen to you. I want to feel your pain point, right? I want to know why you want it, but I want to justify the need for it. Does it add value to the business or the project we're working on? Now, conflict between groups, that happens a lot. When you are, someone said they want this, someone said we don't want it, someone said let's go this way, and that person, let's use that approach. You need to understand conflict management as well within projects, not just for BAs, for both BAs and PMs. Everything I'm talking about, business analysis, a few of them may be harder to PM, which we'll talk about later, like stakeholder management. But everything we talk about project management may relate to a BA if you really want to, because BAs can be asked to manage, but I've seen that happen a lot of times. And again, I mentioned that earlier, if you don't bring a BA in early enough, that's the organizational problem. The project may go awry. It doesn't really matter if you don't know the function of a BA. Now, what should a BA know? Again, I'll just run through this. We're not learning everything today, right? But we need to know what we need to know and the importance. So I'll ask AC after running through this. So from his own experience, point out what are the things, what are the sort of techniques he uses mostly, right? And what are the sort of documentation that a BA should, but I love for them. I can point some out to you as well, but I want to learn from both of them, make the best use of the time. Now, creating a business case, yes, a BA should know that, but does every BA create business case? It's a no, right? But you need to know it. You may not really create it. It depends on where you work or the sort of project environment where you work. A lot of BAs work within the IT sector. They may not even hear BA, a business case within their next 10 years of career or next career, the 10-year career years, they may not hear business case at all. And some may hear, they may not really have opportunity to create one, right? But it's part of a BA responsibility. Now, creating business requirement documents, a BRD, or what we call requirement catalog, is a BA document. That's the document where you, like, I'm meeting with you and I'm noting down whatever you're saying you want or any findings from the question I'm asking, noting that down either with pen and paper or my OneNote or any sort of tool that's convenient for some people. Like they type very fast, so they can be typing in this age now, but if you want to write. But after writing that, where I put the official documentation of requirements, right? For every project by BA is called the BRD or requirement package. Process map, that's the process-driven stuff. I'll show some example at some point later when we're wrapping up everything, just to give us an overview. The use case diagram, user story, software, all these are documents. If you've heard them before or you have any question, you can raise your hand. Mikayo, do you have any question? Do you have any question?
No, I don't have question.
Okay, thank you. All right. Okay, so use case, I've explained that earlier. Use case, user stories, user-driven requirements, process modeling or process map, process-driven requirements, a way of translating them. All these are graphical documentation of your finding. Again, that's the core aspect of the BA. I'll wrap that up when we finish later. Creating wireframe, again, a graphical representation of a software key screen, like a user interface, right? Now, does every BA really do that these days? Now, it depends. My own organization, we have a USD department that does all the mockups. So, previous organization, I've done mockups, but currently I don't do mockups, right? Project managers, BAs don't do that. It could be USD, but a BA needs to understand it, right? In case, I don't know, it depends where you're working. Flowcharts. A flowchart is pretty much similar to a process map, but from a different sort of point of view, top to bottom, the representation instead of, what do you call it now? Like instead of the left to right, the horizontal, the vertical instead of the horizontal representation. The flowchart, it's pretty much the vertical or the horizontal one will be the process map. Now, ERD, I did mention earlier, integration model is the data concept, data aspect of a requirement or data modeling. Again, if you understand that, you don't need to as a BA. It's just one of the things a BA may need to learn. Maybe not at the initial stage, right? But it will be good to understand it. Currently, I'm taking the BAs within my team, in my current organization, through the data concept, data aspect of every project, the data aspects or the relevance of data knowledge to a BA. So it's one of the things I'm doing for them currently, and I'm running them through not the core aspect of data, the SQL, the Python, and all that, the analysis, no, but the data modeling aspect of it, what each element of data means if you're working on data related project. But does everybody understand it? No. 80% of them don't. They have to know, but it's good for a BA to do. There are a lot of things a BA needs to learn. So it's part of the things, not all, like I said, not all. Just so every things on the list there are what a BA needs to know. Doesn't mean you need to know all, but there are some core aspects you need to know. Right. Creative solution design, again, depends on where you work, where you're working. There are designs, there is a way I can mock up a solution design with the use of my graphical sort of tools like Microsoft Visio. We'll go through that later, or Draw.io, and it's a graphical representation of what we're looking to do. Now, it's like a single pager that explains 10 pages of Word documents. And it just gives the technical people a full understanding of how we're moving from step A to point A to point B graphically. I can create that. It's a very powerful tool to understand, a powerful document, a powerful way of representing information or solution that can be done by BA. If you really know that, that's very good sort of stuff to know. Again, does everybody do that? It depends where you're working. I've mentioned before, a solution by any organization, solution required by an organization can fall into 5 categories, right? Now, not all can be represented in all these documents. So you need to understand what project are you working on, and that dictates the diagram or the document you will do. Again, I can explain here, but you need more detailed experience or more detailed training to really understand that. That's one of the things that FPAs to understand. To understand when you're working on a project, what sort of documents do I need to create on this? Out of all these listed, you may not need more than 2, to be honest, or most, or 3, or even 1 sometimes. But the project may determine, or the people you need to provide document for may determine the document you need to create. And again, the project will determine that. Technical functional spec is one of the things, and all these sort of terminologies or document types, you need to understand them in detail. I mean, again, like I said, today is not to explain in details, to give you an idea and to see whether it's for you something you want to do. Then we can talk about how you can get the full knowledge later. Some of these things they will ask in an interview. Sometimes again, it depends on the organization. Every organization belongs to, well, every organization falls under an industry, and that industry has some project they work on, right? So working with IT or a software company, you don't expect them to give you a project that a utility company will give you. Maybe they will have similarities in certain way, but they will have some very, very distinct sort of ways of working and type of project that we're working on. And that will determine again what sort of documents you're going to be creating. Again, we can talk about that in details. And I'll tell you where that falls very soon. Project coordination, like I said, project management, it's part of the work of a BA. You need to be able to coordinate small piece of work. It's very important. Understanding of software development lifecycle is where it's very required by BA. Is one of the key requirements of being a business analyst. You need to understand project management methodologies, including the SDLS, software development lifecycle. Again, that can be easily explained. Change management, I've explained, risk management, and all that. Now, some of the key skills that will be required that you need, of course, you need the core soft skills. Communication skills is very critical. It's very critical for you how to communicate with people in different ways. In writing, you want to pen something across to people, organize a meeting, coordinate meeting, facilitate, how to keep meeting within agenda, keep it to time. Again, as much as you can, we'll learn as we go along. It's very important. Communication skill, problem solving skills, of course, facilitation to understand need, right? When people are talking, you're thinking beyond what they're saying, you're identifying the pain points and thinking wide and beyond, like with the knowledge you have. What is the next question you are? How can we probably solve this? So sometimes some knowledge you've gained from previous projects can be applicable to some of the future projects you'll be working on. So when someone is saying certain things, you already think, oh yeah, I've done something similar before. Have you thought of X, Y, Z? So that's what we call experience in any role or any job you're doing anyway. But you've got to have that problem solving skills, the ability to listen to people and thinking of helping them in whatever they're doing. Critical thinking, evaluating multiple options. So I pointed out these skills and areas that will be useful, right, to you, where those skills are needed within what I've mentioned earlier as to what BA does on a daily basis in terms of our normal roles, right? Critical thinking is needed when you are evaluating multiple options, when you are eliciting criteria or requirements from people, when you are listening to questions to get the fact out of people. You need to have the critical thinking skill set there. Again, don't get carried away. I always say to people, sometimes people are in meeting. It happens to a lot of people, and I always point them right, say, no, wake up. You can't be in a meeting and just be carried away for like 2 minutes, 2 seconds. You might have lost a lot. You see people in meeting, I'm sorry, I missed that. They've been carried away. Were you thinking of the jollof rice on the cooker at home, or probably you don't take it there. But you're meeting with different levels of stakeholders. Imagine you meeting with top level directors within an organization. They don't have time. They've only squeezed out 30 minutes to give to you to elicit something out of them. So you've got to use the 20 minutes, 30 minutes appropriately. Again, further training down the line will explain to you how to plan every meeting you have. But it's very important to pretty much be at alert, be very attentive when you are in a meeting. Understand your techniques, very critical. You need to understand your technique. You can't gain that from anybody. It is something you have to learn, and the tools available. I'll mention that very soon. Now you got to be able to build relationship. You have to have relation with people. You're dealing with stakeholders. So they need to trust you. That, oh, Joe worked on the project, he delivered it right, listened to us, he delivered what we requested for, and delivered it right. So you've got to have that relationship, be able to, let people build trust, basically, and build relation with people, and let people be able to trust you that you will do what you don't promise. Anyway, I ask you, it's not promise. Someone asks you something, you don't say I'll do it. No, because not every need will be done. You've got cardinal requirement, but then you can listen to them, right, and come back to them with what you're delivering, and you give them reason why you can't deliver it. Because of course it's obvious if it doesn't add any value to the business, nobody's going to kill you for it. You need to have a thick skin, basically. People are going to give you different sort of feedback. I do in my organization, we do what we call the 360 feedback, 360 review, right, where anonymously people should be able to feed you back to say, this is what I think, this is what you should need. You need to work on to improve yourself. And again, people are going to say things like, don't forget the fact that you are making changes in the organization. You are talking to different people. So different people will see your change, your project, your approach from different perspectives. So whatever they say, you've got to have that thick skin to really take anything on, basically. Despite ambiguity is very critical. It's the proper way I always say to people. Like I think Issy mentioned it the other time as well. Someone said do something. It's too ambiguous. What do you mean by that? Why do you want it? Who is it for? What are you going to achieve by doing it? You got to ask all these questions. Break down ambiguities. Give me a cup of water. Come on, it's so ambiguous. I don't say that to people. Give me a cup of water. I won't run to give you a cup. What do you mean a cup of water? Cold water, warm water. There are questions that needs to be asked. Because I can go run the tap and bring water. Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell you it's cold. The BA should have asked before you get to that stage. You don't run at an instruction without justifying the need, without asking proper questions. And again, that's what Ismail was trying to say. Someone said there's the problem, go and fix it. No, what caused the problem is the problem. Is the real problem, not the problem you're looking at. The root cause is the actual problem. If you don't solve it from the root, then the problem will still exist 100%. Despite ambiguity, if I say that on a daily basis, even to my colleagues, ambiguity is critical. That is what we break down in any project. Both a project manager and a BA, you need to despise ambiguity. Someone said do something. Come on, look at it from a bigger picture. Do you really understand that? Oh, Joe, I need a car. Okay, a car for what? What sort of car do you need? Oh, I just need. You got to break it down. A car is too much. Do you have a particular brand? Do you prefer certain color? What of engine size? What of transmission type? What of, there are different questions that needs to be asked before I can understand what you really need, the integrity of what you need. So most requests start too ambiguous, and that's the reality. So understand that and always break them down to the big level. Of course, you need some technical skills. That when we mean technical skills here, it's not like you don't need to be a technical person. As a project manager or a BA, you need the technical skills. Now, your technical skills as a BA is the ability to communicate with technical guys through some of the documents I've mentioned earlier. Your use case, your flow chart, your process map, those are technical documents. Don't joke with them. They are easy, they are graphical. I'll show you some example, like I said, but they are not just any other document. Those are technical documents, because that's why they fall under what we call the Unified Modeling Language, UML. They are UMLs, shapes that are used to draw them. So they have meaning. Each shape has a meaning technically. So when you put those shapes together, technical guys understand what you're saying. You're communicating with them. Now, you need the industry and domain knowledge. And now that brings us back to, again, what we've been talking about. Where you will work determines what you will do. So if you worked within the retail industry, when I was working at one of the retail companies a few years ago, pre-COVID, I understood the importance of working in a retail industry and working at the till. I was working on a project, a CPOS, Central Point of Sales system. We needed to build a robust CPOS, right? Now, that's when I now knew that I needed to understand how the POS works. POS is what people use as a till. Be sure, you buy something, you scan it at Tesco when you do self checkout. That's a POS. Where you check out. Now, The central one is where all the stores transaction, like Tesco, we have the CPOS, where all the Tesco's transaction will go to the CPOS. Now imagine building that. If you don't understand how the POS works, you don't understand. POS works in different ways. There are times when you scan an item, it needs a managerial approval. Then you see the till people will call, oh, we need someone needed at the till. Then one supervisor will come and put in a key to open and approve it. There are a lot of complexity within the POS. You think it's easy. Then I knew the importance of working at retail. Do you know people that work at retail, they will scale through that as a day. I needed to go to one of the shops, right? And I needed to go and spend 2 hours with the POS per day for 5 days to understand how they scan items and the details of how the system actually works. What triggers what and all that. So now what I'm trying to say in essence is industry knowledge, experience, it's very critical. And I always say it, engineering experience is not useless as a BA. Even if you've been a teacher, you've been a customer service, fantastic. You've been relating with people, you've been in HR, you've been a carer, no knowledge is lost because BA is so robust. Like it's a career path that doesn't really fit into a particular industry. It fits into all. So every knowledge is needed because you don't know the project you're going to be working on. You're working on the project. But that's why NHS will ask for a BA with healthcare experience. Go and check it on. There are a lot of jobs. BA jobs on NHS. So I have a lot of people I've trained that project coordinators, BAs working with NHS with their NHS experience. So don't despise what you have. It's very critical. It may be very critical to what you know now. And the only difference there is you are in control of your space, you are in control of your time. You're working in an industry where you manage yourself because that's what a BA role is. You are a consultant. Nobody manages you. You manage your space, you manage your tasks, you have to be proactive and all that. So all the knowledge you bring on the table, and then you work at your own pace. Nobody knows when you do. I do something in 2 hours. It's a 2 days job. I hold my hand for the next 2 days. That's how we roll, right? But I've done the job. Now, mostly a week job, I can do it in 5 hours, to be honest. Monday to Friday, I do it in 5 hours. Because I've worked over the years, I know it. But it's a week job. Even if I do it in 5 hours, the rest of my day is my own game. I can do it for something else. And because we work from home, you have to control your time. So basically, there are a lot of benefits to working within such an industry, but you need certain things. So industry knowledge is critical, very, very critical. Right. Best practice, I mentioned some of this as well. You need to understand. Now, that's the best practice I always say. There are things you need to know. There are things you need to learn, right, from an industry where you're working. Clear understanding of business analysis, that's your own job. Yeah, the onus lies on you to know that. So you don't gain that when you start the job. You know it before you start. Know your audience. The audience, you don't know the audience until you start the project. Does it make sense? So this best practices, I know what I know. When I put on the project, I want to get to know the people I need to deal with, the project team, the stakeholders. Then I want to get a full understanding of the project. That's my approach. I know my stakeholders. I can then know, oh, that guy is then stakeholders work differently. Sometimes you work in a new organization, and I'll be like, oh, I've been working with Nick on this project. I'll ask people because I'm new in the organization. I'll be like, who is Nick? What do you think? How do you think is he approachable? I'll be like, Nick is this and that. Then now Nick, when you're telling him something, just be very clear. It can be whatever, a dickhead when you don't do that. Then Nick doesn't have time. He will only say things once. He won't repeat himself. So people give you an idea of who you're dealing with. You need to ask sometimes. So if you've not worked there for a while, I ask about people. That who is he? How is he like? How do I deal with him? What's the best way to contact him? And all that. Know your project. You need to know that. Then know your business analysis techniques. It's yours. The project, you don't know it before, right? You know it when you are put on the project, but then you take time to understand what you need to do before you jump into the water, before you start swimming. You know what you are getting into first and understand it properly, that you know what needs to be delivered. So understand your business analysis, your techniques, those are things you have to know. That's the essence of today, to have an idea, and essence of any training, to get an in-depth knowledge, right? Your technical environment, you know it depends on where you're working. So technical environment, when I was working a certain industry, is different from where I'm working now. Every industry I worked have different technical setup, the architecture, they have different setup. So you got to understand that. Who are the people running it? How do they run? That the tools, the softwares, that's what I mean by tools. The tools used by NHS in an healthcare industry is different from tools that will be used by a utility company like United Utilities or EDF or E.ON. And it will be different from what we use by Barclays or NatWest. That's the financial industry. They all have different tools they use. They may have similarities within HR, core HR, Kronos, and whatever they use. They'll be similar, right? But technically, these are companies within different industries, and they use different tools. They run differently. So you got to understand how the organization you are working on. Do you need to know it ahead? Yes, if you. That's where the experience matters. So if you worked in an IT company, you understand the IT technical structure. So what sort of project you're working on, what sort of tools they use and all that. So when you're putting on your CV, they're looking at that. So that's where when they want to hire you and they require someone with NHS experience, that's what they look at. Business knowledge and the technical knowledge of what they run with. That's what they look at. That's why they're asking for someone with healthcare experience, right? So experience gives you technical knowledge of different projects. Experience gives you, with different jobs, gives you the business knowledge. But then the ones you have is what you put on your CV, but it doesn't mean they can't recruit you. They will recruit you because you know your techniques and tools, because you know what business analysis is all about. That's why they're recruiting you. So you know what business analysis is all about, you know your techniques and tools, you're good to go. You can create those documents, you're good to go. To start gaining experience. So now build more on your business knowledge and technical knowledge. And that is the pride in you that you are experience. When you try your CV, people will keep calling you, right? But at the initial stage, you need to build your knowledge of business analysis and your techniques and tools very well. I've mentioned some of these. We can't really deal with all of them. Business case, solution, scope. I've told you what a scope is. I'll define it later. Some techniques, SWOT analysis, cost benefit, we've been mentioning that they are too detailed. And so you need a bit more, training to really understand them. But again, you don't need all of this. There are just some of the techniques. Now, these are some of the tools that we use, are very important. There are some key tools that you need to use as a BA. Your Microsoft Office, of course, your Word, Excel, PowerPoint, your Outlook. So I think I heard that recently. Some organization asked you for, you don't really, nobody asks for that, but they can just know you've not really worked in an office environment if you don't know how to use Outlook. So if your most offices use Outlook as for email, I don't know, they can measure you. Your collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams, the likes of Zoom. I know some organization uses Zoom, go to meeting like they're using now and all that. But your core tools are your documentation tools, your Microsoft Word for your normal documentation, which is BRD, your Excel for your analysis. You need that definitely. You need Word and Excel. Presentation, you use PowerPoint, but maybe you don't do much presentation, but you need Word and Excel. But above all, you need one of the graphical documentation tools. Now, the most common one is the Microsoft Visio. I can show you that, but yeah, I'll give you some diagrams later. Like I said, let's cover the most important part. And Microsoft Visio or Draw.io or Lucidchart. Visio, Balsamiq, Draw.io, Lucidchart, Fluid UI, Axo, and a few others, they do the same thing. They all do the same. So just one is okay. But what offices use, right? Mostly is Microsoft Visio. But then in addition, most offices now are integrating this with their conference page they use because this is well integrated into it. And this is free. So a lot of us uses this as well, because if I draw a diagram on Draw.io and I do the same with Visio, if I export that diagram to do with in PDF, you may not really notice the difference. Why? Diagrams are done using shapes, and those shapes are classified under what we call UML, right? Unified Modeling Language. Okay. Okay, while I'm there, let me just quickly, let me see what's next. So I can just show you. Okay, I can quickly show you. So some of the tools again are Jira, Confluence, the most common one, Trello. These three are classed as Atlassian products, right? Some people use Basecamp as a repository. I'll tell you what all these are used for, just to store document like SharePoint. Basecamp does what SharePoint does what Confluence does. And again, Google Drive can do the same, right? Slack is just like your Teams or your WhatsApp. It's used for communication in project, basically, because it can integrate with most tools like Confluence. So every conversation within that project there is done on Slack. Teamwork is another tool you can use for project management and all that. Microsoft Teams is widely used in organization for everyday meeting. In fact, I work for Microsoft Teams daily. Every meeting is done on this. Now, like I said, some organizations will be using other tools, but majority uses Microsoft Teams. What else? All tools. Tools like data-related tools. So I think I've classified the tools. There are project-related tools, common core tools that you need. You don't need all. You need Microsoft Office, and at least one of the other one, which is Visio or, like I said, for your drive. I'll show you that in a minute. Then I move on to project-related tools, Confluence, Jira. I used to manage projects, write stories in Jira. There's a lot to talk about them, but they are project-related tools, not core. When I mean core-related, is for BAs. These are tools used by BAs, right? Anybody can use it, but a BA needs it. It's your 5 and 6. It's your 6 if you are a 5. It's your 7 if you are a 6. You go hand in hand. Balsamic mockup, or most common Visio and Drive. They are very common. You need it. Now, in the days of remote working now, you need your board, one of the board collaborative board tool like Miro or Figma. I don't know if you've seen any one of them, but because you don't go to the office again, if you're working at the office, you have a board, a whiteboard, where when you're having a meeting, you're taking notes. Some offices have sophisticated boards. Actually, it's not really, you use like a smart pen to write on it. That's what I used to use. You use smart pen to take note on the board, and after the meeting, you export that meeting note to people's email straight away from that board. That's what we used to use. But now things change. We don't go to the office, we work from home. So we still need that board where we can collaborate, put diagrams, put suggestions, sticky notes. Mine is one of them. I'll give you an example in a minute when I'm wrapping up this. Jira, Confluence again, then data-related tools and collaboration tool. I think I've mentioned some of it. These are stuff you need to know. You need to know at least one of them. Basically, I've pointed a few out, but you don't need all. You just need to know a few of them. Let me give you an example of some of the tools I've just mentioned. I've mentioned Draw.io, for example, and some of the documents. Let me see if I can get that up, and let me get a few up if you haven't seen them before. Let me get that to it, just to give you like an idea. Most of the documents I've been talking about are something like this. When I talk of shapes, that's the use case diagram, for example. That you may be aware, you may have seen it before, you might not have seen it before. It's the easiest thing to do ever in life. In fact, that was one of the reasons why I chose to stay within that aspect of IT. It's a piece of biscuit for me. Now, this is like a process map, for example. These are easy to do. I tell anybody, you can teach a child to do this and they'll do it. That's the fact. But that's the power of a business analyst. So then sometimes when you sit at home and I just give this diagram that I can do within even 20 minutes, very complex in 20 minutes, but someone is saying, I'll pay you for a day for that, just for drawing this. Now, some people just draw this every day, process analysts. That's what they do every day, and they get paid £500, £600 every single day, just for drawing this. I'll do it happily, honestly. Just wake me up, I'll draw it. Just tell me what to draw. Once I understand what to draw the process, I'll do it. And that's what BA training really is all about. I'll give you another example. Let me see. That's a mock-up, for example. That's a UI created by somebody, a wireframe, for example. All that is done. You can do with any of the tools I've mentioned, like graphical tools, like Visio, but this is Draw.io, like I mentioned to you. Let me see if I can get I want to see a flow chart, if I can, just to show you the difference. Okay, that's a flow chart there. So this is a flow chart. As this person drew up this is a training. So I didn't draw this one. I'm training, where a training drew. So this person drew up a flow chart for withdrawing cash from an ATM. You said you insert your card, you enter PIN number, right? Then the card will verify. With the verification passes, yes. Then you choose cash withdrawal, you enter the withdrawal amount, then any further activity, if you say yes, then if it's a no, then you reject your card, you withdraw your cash, and that ends it. If you have further activity, yes, you can either print receipt, mini statement, or whatever, then you can go ahead. At this point, if your verification failed, then you can enter your PIN again 3 times. If after the 3rd time, then your card will be blocked. Kind of. This is a process. But do you know how powerful this is? Now, it's something you do every day. Imagine you explain to someone how you withdraw a cash, and that person is able to draw this. The point here is you're not writing it down as a note, as bullet point 1, 2, 3, but you're drawing it up. That's the power of what we do as business analysts. In fact, this is the main BA job, right? It's one of the main BA jobs. You've listened to someone, you've taken notes. Now, every note you've taken, nobody is interested. People are interested in this. And if you can draw this, that can earn you £500 just for drawing that, for withdrawing cash. Someone is paying you for that. That's as simple. That's for me. I don't know. You see, when you want to talk on anything there before I wrap up this, then I quickly jump onto. Do you want to talk about
I think you've covered.
Okay, all right.
You've covered basically, yeah. It's almost the same thing I would
So this is the core documentation of a BA. Now, another documentation a BA can do, just to give you like a feel of how easy it is, right? I remember when I jumped on this thing, I became like a BA bishop. Basically, I think I was just telling everybody now, this is what to do. Like, it's too easy for me not to. Now, other stuff we can do, I'll give you like a feel of it. Is let me go to the Jira. I see just a project. Let me check if I have anything there. This is what we mean by a user story now, for example, written in Jira for a project, right? Again, this is what it would do. You've met with somebody, you've done your investigation, and your finding is to do so. And these are all related to certain things which may be software related. Now, other documentation that I've shown the process map doesn't need to be process software related. It could be anything process driven. And you may need to do other documents, right? Which I'll cover some other templates in details later. But just to give you a feel of what we're talking about, these are softwares that you probably be using. Confluence, Jira, to write user stories. As it has a syntax, and again, that's what you have to learn. If you can write that, you can do your BRD, you can do process map alone. I don't see anything stopping you. And you understand, you can actually defend yourself. Like if you see me puts you on the hot table, I know it's a very tough. If he interviews you for a job, you have to be really good before you get that job. I know him for that. So he puts you on the hot seat and he questions you as a BA or how you're going to deal with the project. If you can simply give him from the simplest point of view as a BA that I will do this, do this, do that. All about it is making sure you do proper investigation, you get the fact out, what to do, you know exactly what to do, and so you are pointing people at the right direction. So when I say as a BA, I've documented this, that go and do this, I'm very sure of my document. And so people can rely on it. They can follow that process and it will deliver. And that's the power. So then the people will trust me. On every project, we trust Joe's document. He's done it twice, projects went on successfully. And what gives it that is the ability to understand the onus of a BA, how to deal with issues like in terms of investigation, to ask relevant questions and get that fact. All these documents are useful. They are all called, these are what I call technical documents. So your technical knowledge is this document, anything here. Right? This is a process map. There are complex process maps, don't get me wrong. You're using BPMN, so these are complex processes. Now, the difference between them is that flowchart doesn't tell us who does it. It tells us the full flow. It didn't tell us who will put the card, who will do the verification. It didn't tell us that. That's why it's top to bottom. Process map will tell us who will do it. The client will do this. The consulting operation will do all this and all that. So it defines processes by functional area. That's what we call it, functional process map sometimes, or we call it streamline diagram. Anyway, that's not the essence of the stuff, just to give you like a feel of what I've been talking about in terms of this document. Those are the core ones. Now, what jobs can I do? You can do quite a lot of jobs, a lot. BAs are called different things: IT business analyst, business process analyst, digital business analyst, functional analyst, system analyst. Now, when you read the job description, it tells you what they're actually expecting. Now, BA is part of the skill shortage in UK. I think it's operational code 2135, I'm not wrong, within the skill shortage list. And there was someone on this call before, I think is left. He actually, well, yeah, it's not on the call. It's not on the call at the moment. Yeah, I know it was sponsored as a BA. Definitely, it was definitely sponsored as a BA for the facts. And so while it's still there, it might be pretty motivating. You see, do you guys sponsor at all?
It's very rare. Very rare. We don't.
Okay, all right.
I've seen someone that was sponsored, but he went through very rigorous process.
Yeah, you have that's fine. You have to know what you have to know because someone will. It's a different thing because
but
you have to
the person that was sponsor was newcomer. I was already in the organization and then had visa issue. They had to like switch to sponsorship, and even at that, it took time before they decided to do it. So I'll just say no to make it.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so there are different alternative jobs there. And like I said, right. And then there are a lot of techniques I mentioned before. We're not going to be going through that now. I won't bore you through that. I've already explained that. That's the nitty-gritty of all those techniques that you need to understand as a BA. Now, what you need to understand for strategic projects, what you need to understand how to implement the project in terms of techniques you use, those are nitty-gritty explanations. So it requires more explanation. So that can be dealt with. We've talked about investigating situation, and I've talked about qualitative investigation techniques, interview, workshop, observation, or what we call shadowing. Now, those are some of the techniques you could use depending on the scenario. Again, these are scenario-based. The scenario dictates what techniques you use. Again, we can go through that in more details in the proper training session or in another session, not today's one. But again, quantitative, I did mention that as well. The likes of questionnaire sampling, special purpose record, data sampling, document analysis can give you statistical results. Anything that will give statistical results are classified under that. So these are all possible techniques to investigate a situation, but which one you would use, again, depends on the scenario. If you're dealing with people, so there are projects I've been to an interview for years ago, and one of the questions they asked me is, how would you help us to document or to understand the fact? How will you do your investigation? And I was like, why? They said the owner of the business lives in the US and he doesn't really have time. And he's the one that gives business requirements. He only gives you via email. He'll just send you, I need this done, and you have to go and explore and pretty much elaborate on that, right? When there's nobody to interview. So that means you can't interview him, you can't run workshop with anybody, you can't observe anybody. This deals with people. So when the scenario presents people, you can use any of this and depend. If you one person, you use interview. If you multiple people, you use workshop. And you can use what we call focus group workshop as well. Because you may want to meet the entire organization, you have to do focus group. You can't put together people who don't share the same knowledge or whose subject area differs in the same room. Doesn't make sense. I've seen people do that. They put 5 people in a room, but then the moment you throw a topic, other people feel like that's not related to why am I on this call? That's not me. Oh yeah, we'll get to you later. No. You have to set up a different session for us. Don't put me. You're wasting my time dealing 30 minutes with something else when my own is after 13. Why not set up focus group sessions? Again, you can't observe yourself. You can't observe a book. You can observe someone virtually though. That's in the days of work from observation. You need someone. But when you don't have that, then you may have document analysis, system analysis as part of your technique. So scenario dictates it. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Then documentation, I've shown you some of the documentation previously using that draw.io stuff. You can do rig picture, you can do the context diagram is a use case, you can do process map, you can do your BR, you can write user stories. These are possible documentation. Again, depends on the project and scenario and what are you dealing with. Consumer perspective stakeholder, we mentioned that stakeholder analysis deals with basically how to identify stakeholder. I think I mentioned that as well before, through documentation, through nomination, and so on and so forth. But then the nitty-gritty of it is how do you manage stakeholders? What's the person's interest as against their influence? So it's influence against interest grid. What you're looking at, different people have different influence level in the organization and different interest in the project. So where does the stakeholder fall within these 4 axes, within this axis, 2 axes, 4 grid sort of document or diagram? Where does person fall? That determines rather how you deal with the stakeholder. Again, nitty-gritty of that can be dealt with that. These are everyday stuff that we do, but we need to understand them at the minimal level so that we'll be able to do. I've mentioned evaluating solution before where you create a business case. I've got nitty-gritty of it in this slide. I've mentioned defining requirement as well and nitty-gritty of it. I would like to jump to here to any question from anybody? Any question from anybody about business analysis? Does it make sense to you so far? Okay, no question from anybody. All right. So now let's now talk of while you're working on a project, while you're working as a business analyst, you need to understand different methodologies. Now, different projects and its methodologies, right? This is the quickest way. The BA job, it's quite it requires a more skill set than a PM job. That's the fact. Now, the only difference is a PM has to be someone that has more influence power. You have the power to influence things more than the other, or you just like more documentation, right? because PMs write reports almost every now and then, at least one report every week, right? And you have the coordination skill set. You are able to do that. Now, when we talk of a project, what exactly is a project? It's a set of interrelated tasks to be executed over a specific or specified period of time. Mark that word, T, a time T, within the cost, within a certain budget or cost C, and other limitations, which we call resources, right? So that is anything that you need to do. They are interrelated tasks. So if they're not interrelated, if they're not related to each other, so you do this, it doesn't relate to the other. There might be two different projects, right? So when the set of tasks are interrelated, that means you do one after the other, or you do one when you complete this, or when you complete all of them, even individually, when you put them together, they become a single piece of product or an entity. That is when we classify all the tasks joined together as a project. But it has to be related. It has to be interrelated. Now, project has to be delivered within a particular time at a specific agreed budget using some resources. So there's availability of resources, people, right, and materials to deliver some set of tasks within a particular time within an agreed budget. Anything you do within that. So if I tell you I need a cake, but I have 40 pounds, right? I need the cake at 40 pounds and I need it by Friday, right? There are certain things that need to be done to deliver that cake. That becomes a project because you need to do certain things, maybe buy material, put the material together, mix it, put it in the oven, bake it, decorate it. All you are working towards is my budget and my time, but there are tasks that needs to be done. Now, those tasks set together constitute a project. Because why? Because I have a budget and I have a time to deliver, and there are set of tasks that needs to be done to deliver that. It becomes a project, and they need someone to manage it. Why? You may fail if someone cannot coordinate it. The person who is going to bake it is not someone that is good at coordination. The person may not deliver by Friday next week. They tell me, oh, it cost me 40 pounds. I lost 5 pounds. I have to spend my own 5 pounds. That's a problem. If you have the coordination skill set, you should be able to tell me even before it starts that, sorry, you can't get that 40 pounds cake by Friday, or the size you need cannot be done for 40 pounds. If I do it for 40 pounds, right, you may need to wait maybe for 2 more weeks. Why? Because I have a cake. Someone has booked a cake for 2 weeks time, right? I can use some of their material for you so that you get it cheaper. You get the point. So 40 pounds can still be spent, but you may have to wait 2 weeks because I have another set of cake I want to do 2 weeks time. So when I join everything together, your 40 pounds can deliver that. So you're losing time, but you can achieve the budget. So now the constraint of a project, yeah, makes the requirement for a project manager because things change. And that's the question Mr. Michael asked earlier. Things change in projects because of the budget and the time delivery. Things has to change. Someone can fall sick that is meant to do something that can delay other projects. Who will manage that to ensure that projects is delivered on time? So all these constraints matter, and I will show us how that works out later. Now, you know what a project is about, but then what is project management? It's the act and science of planning, organizing, and managing all these resources to deliver those set of tasks, manage the people, manage their tasks within the time. And all I'm chasing as a project manager is the people to deliver what task has been assigned to them to time. And tasks are interrelated, and which tells me there are dependencies in projects. Again, these are details you will learn later. Every task is dependent on the other, either start to start, start to finish, or finish to start. Again, what I mean by that, there are tasks you have to start. You can't start until you finish other tasks. So that's finish to start. Until there are start to start tasks. There are tasks that you have to start concurrently with each other. And there are tasks you cannot finish until another one has started. It's complicated, but all these are managed in a project. And that is where a project manager needs the skill set of understanding project planning and how to use MS projects to plan and make their life a lot easier. If you plan with Excel, fine, a lot of people do that. You may just not be able to have an holistic view of the project. And that may be the cost of what Mr. Michael said earlier. An holistic view of the project is delivered on a tool called MS Project, right? Microsoft Project. It's just like all Microsoft Enterprise stuff, which allows you to break down your project assign projects to people, create a resource sheet so that I can list all the people that will be on the project and assign them to tasks all within the same tool. Then go to the resource sheet and then tell the system how much each person earns per hour, per day, or per week or per month, whatever. So the system understands your full project, everybody working, and their cost. So it can actually give you a simple pager view of the project that if you start now, you'll finish this time, it will cost this amount, and this is the reason why. It gives you that breakdown just by entering the parameters needed. And so once you add that, you can now begin to monitor and control the project. Now, so it's the act of managing all that that is called project management. So you need someone that has the ability to do that to become a project manager. Okay, the project manager, you need to understand the fundamentals of projects, business situation, right? Now, what you need to do when something happens, that determines what you will do, when you will do it, how you will do it, and how well you will do it. All this needs to be put together in a document and conveyed across to people that I'm going to deliver this project. This is what you need. So that's, we call that project initiation document, by the way, PID. Now, that is after understanding your project. You create a document to say, I understand what you need to do. These are the objectives. This I'm going to deliver it. This is my communication plan. I'm going to be sending out this report at social time every week to understand the situation of things. And this are the approach. I'm going to be using this methodology and so on and so forth. And then you give us your full project plan in Gantt chart or in form of a report to let us understand. So it's the ability to coordinate that and to actually create a project plan within the system that a project manager needs. You may need to do certain things in this year as well, now, which is your project team structure. That's the org structure aspect of things. I'll show you, we'll have a feel of that very soon. They bear the utmost responsibility for making things happen. That's what a project manager. That's why I said if a project fails, it falls right on the lap of a PM. Why did it fail? Except if a BA is coordinating it. But when a scope is not understood properly, right? A BA creates a wrong document and a project fails as a result of that. That falls on the lap of a BA. But in context, that's why we asked the other time, why did the project fail? Budget, project manager. It's not my, it's not your, if you're a BA, it's not your responsibility. If you have an hybrid role, BA PM is still your responsibility. They monitor and control a project. You see that monitoring and controlling is critical. That's why you need the project plan. So you can see what goes on per time. Someone is not coming tomorrow. Does their task affect other people? Are they doing something that will affect other people? If you say yes, what's the impact of that on the project? So if they don't do it tomorrow, will it affect the timeline of the project? Yes, it will do. By how many days? We don't know until they are back. Wow, that is pretty much a critical situation. Someone needs to step in. So you need to alert somebody to make a decision, whether to recruit someone else urgently to fill in the gap. That's why sometimes it's a single point of failure when only one person knows how to do certain things in a project. There has to be someone that is shadowing somebody else, or two people doing the same thing, someone assisting the other. But someone, because you can't, sometimes you can't really control certain things. Now, you need to understand project methodologies or project delivery methodologies like Prince2, right? What does Prince2 say about project? Basically about documentation. Now, understand the full project life cycle, stakeholder like we mentioned, decision making, and just similar to BA, but also report writing. That's an additional stuff that you need to know as a PM, right? Now, you need to understand Scrum and Agile as a project methodology, including Prince2. A BA will need that as well. BA needs project methodologies as well. Maybe not Prince2, but you need to understand the difference between Agile and Waterfall. Now, leadership skill, influencing skill, estimation, planning, problem solving, creative thinking. Now, the leadership and influencing skill critical top two needed by PM, right? Contract management, conflict management, similar to it, as well as the stakeholder management. Then you've got to be able to manage time as well. So I'm not going to go into detail of conflict management. Again, that's where detail level I've got kind of, if we have time, I will have gone through. I always go through it sometimes if I have more time. But that needs proper explanation, so you can get that further in future sessions. But I want to give you an idea now. What project manager does, they define the project, reduce it to set of manageable tasks, just in iteration, that's what they do, just the full list. They obtain appropriate resources and build a team. Then they set the final goal for the project, inform all stakeholders on progress on a regular basis as a report, and they assess and monitor the risks to the project per time, right? That's part of what Prince2 tells us as well, right? We have to manage by exception and continue business justification as part of the Prince2 recommendation. You got to part-time look at the situation of things, what's changed in policy, government policy, is anything changed in the society? What impact does that have on the project? Should we still continue the project? Is this justifiable? You are creating a project that will be used by 4G. Now there's 5G out there now. 4G is getting duplicated. Will you continue the project? No, because that's the technology change. You need to sit back and justify your project. You have to make some changes to the technical requirements of the project. So that's the need. Things changes every day. So PM needs to be aware, as well as a BA, and to inform whether to still continue the project or not. Project doesn't go exactly as planned, so you've got to learn how to adapt to changes. And there's something we call change management plan as well. Project team, why project fail, poor communication, disagreement, and all that. Now, I've talked about stakeholder. I want to talk about some key roles that you need to understand. An essential component of good project, I think I've talked about it. That's self-explanatory. Scope. The scope describes the work that needs to be done, right? What will not be done and what will be done. I'll give you an example. Now, you've been asked to furnish a house as a project. Someone is giving you a contract, furnish a house as a project. But you got to clarify what part of the house are you not furnishing, right? Furnishing the house is your project, right? But what's in scope, what's out of scope? Are you furnishing the kitchen? Are you buying the cooker, the everything? No. You may have to be furnished the house. Be like, no, it's just the bedroom and living room. Don't worry about the hallway. Don't worry about the kitchen. So clarifying what needs to be done, understanding the scope, which most times, a PA has helped you to define the scope. What will be done? Now, clarify what do we not need to do, or what is it that we don't need to touch. That needs to be spelled out in your project documentation. These are in scope, and these stuff are out of scope. So I'm asked to furnish the house, but in scope is furnish all the bedrooms, furnish the hallway, furnish the living room, right? Out of scope is the library, furnishing the library and the kitchen. So when you complete the project, what they look at is, have you delivered to scope, right? Have you delivered what you've been asked to? Why? Because if you over deliver, that is called scope creeping. Scope creeping is over delivering to know that, oh, let me do extra. Sometimes you want to go plate. Someone told you, can you please give me the white paint in my room? I need to paint the house, but I want white. But you ask, oh, white to go with gold. Let me put gold on the edges here. Or let me put green. I think green is nice. Did they ask you to do green? If the answer is no, but I think is right. That's good plating. You are scope creeping already. You're scope creeping. Deliver what you've been asked to. I need a cup of water. Oh, should I just bring a whole bottle? Just a cup, a 5 wet, maybe 30 ml is okay, right? Size is okay. That's fine. So I'll bring what you need. Now, bringing a full bowl of water is scope creeping because that's not what was requested. So that needs to be understood by a PM as well as a BA. But it falls more on the lap of a PM to understand what needs to be delivered so that they deliver the important thing on time. And there's something we call what we call now. There are times where you will prioritize requirements, right? Requirement prioritization, where you do the must do's and you leave the rest, right? Or what we call the MVP, the minimum viable products, the least that you can deliver for a project to be considered successful. Now, sometimes a project might not be considered or delivered fully from the inception. You may have to deliver a little, then deliver the rest later. So you need to understand sometimes the MVPs, right? It be it as well. On every project, I understand the MVP. It looks too cumbersome. It looks like a lot. Do we have MVPs? Are there some set of things that needs to be done first so that we can at least start using that system, or so that we can actually deliver that and people can start using it, right? That may need to be understood first before you go on. But other than that, a full scope needs to be understood. You need to understand everything that needs to be delivered on a project, but you can break them down into you can prioritize them basically into several sets. And that's why you see some projects are in phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, because they've been broken down into the order of priority. So we deliver phase 1 first, and so they can start using it then. Future stages are called updates, right? You update the system by the should do requirement, you update again by the could do requirement, then there's no requirement, you just put some finishing touches to it, and then project is fully done. It might be 3 phases, some might be 1 phase, depending on how cumbersome the project is. Now, so if you don't understand what is required to bring the what if you don't understand the project objective, whether it's a B or PM, you make scope creep. So what Mr. Michael asked earlier about project failure, the reason why we asked that what caused it was so that we understand it wasn't scope creeping that caused it. Francis, go ahead, please. Francis, when you're ready. Are you raising your hand or? Okay, well, anytime you're ready, just go ahead. I think I've unmuted you, but okay, you've unmuted yourself.
Oh, hello?
Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Hello, can you hear me? Okay, let me go ahead while we're waiting for Francis. I think.
Hello?
Hello, yeah, can I hear you?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to unmute myself earlier, but it wasn't working, so I put the question in the chat box.
All right. Okay. Apologies, I've not checked the chat box in the last. Let me see.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, am I seeing the chat box? Can you please go ahead with the question, please? Francis, please go ahead with the question. Yeah, I can just listen to you and answer straight.
Okay, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, my question was, are there any specific qualifications that would support us as newbies, like to get into the job market as a BA?
All right. Thank you very much for that. Yes, there are certifications recommended for BAs and PMs, but the good thing is you don't have to be certified to get the job. So I always say to people, I'll give you an example. In my entire organization, we are just 2 out of over 20 BAs. Only 2 of us are certified. So their certification, obviously, there's BCS certification, which is the British Computer Society certification level. So there are, if I'm not wrong, it's still around. I think there are 3 to 5 levels that you can go through. For full certification as a BA, you can start with the foundation, then build on it. I think there are 2 other levels to get your full certification, which is pretty much maybe a diploma level. Then there's IIBA, International Institute of Business Analysis certification with headquarters in Canada. Now, for most people that have trained in Canada, the initial recommendation before they even venture or while they start the training is I'll tell them, go start preparing for your certification because Canada requires certification majorly. I mean, for most employer requires to get in Canada. In UK, you will hardly see very few people require or put certification as part of the requirement to get a job. You don't need it, but there are certifications which I can put through to us. I can send it pretty much. I can give us materials towards that after today's meeting. I've got our details. So if you require that, just get in touch with me. I have. Now, most of my full training goes through the modules. Everything I've been talking about, the techniques I've gone through today, and some screens I've skipped, right? This full slide was created with the full curriculum of this year's. So normally, if I take you through this this slide in detail, A to Z, I can ask you, just give you past questions of BCS certification, you'll pass it. Because that 100%, there's no two way about that. Because I follow the curriculum, the certification. Yeah, to answer your questions, yes, there are bodies managing certifications for business analysts, same thing for project management. You can do the APM level or you can do the Prince 2 certification, but you don't necessarily need certification to get it done. Mr. Sunday, go ahead. Mr. Sunday, go ahead.
Okay, thank you, Joe, for all these lectures. It's very impactful. Now, my question is that I wanted to ask a question. It's not under the school script. I
Sorry,
may be a PM.
1 second, Mrs. Sunday.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can hear you. 1 second, please. 1 second.
Okay.
I just want to pause it. Now, I just want to apologize, everyone. Please, I know it's time to end it, but because it started a bit late, I don't know if you're still free for the next 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to wrap up, but I want to wrap up on a good note to make sure it makes sense, and how to get in touch if you need further information. I'll be available, and see as well. I would convey. Now, we might still have some future sessions, but we're just wrapping it up for the last session in this year. But please, if you can just spare me the next 10 to 15 minutes. I promise no more than 15 minutes, hopefully. Yeah, we wrap up. Because we started a bit late, we could have hit the nail on the head, finish in 3 hours. But apologies. So if you still have time, please just hang around, and we wrap up soon, so that we wrap up on a good note. Thank you. Go on, Mr. Sunday.
All right. Thank you once again. As a BA, I'm involved in one project now presently, and I'm a PM on that project. I have a BA working along with me. But part of the requirement for the BA for the PM is to define the 5W1H, which is why, what, where, and now for that project. Now, during your presentation, you mentioned that it's part of requirement for PA. Now, I want to clarify, please. As a PM, I created 5W1H for the project assigned on that particular project. Now, I want to ask, does BA require to create another 5W1H on the same project? And if yes, are the 5W1H has to be the same thing on that particular project? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Mrs. Sunday. I don't know, Francis, did I answer your question correctly before I move on to Sunday? Because that's a bit different. Are you satisfied with the answer?
Yes,
Again?
you did. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. All right. So, Mr. Sunday, so now 5H and 1H on projects. Now, it depends on at what stage of the project, right? You are asking those questions, right? We're going to go through that in a few minutes, because that's why I'm going to wrap up with all the methodologies and all that. You can just bear with me. You see that project has phases, right? And each phase dictates what is done at that stage. So if a BA is starting a project, I don't know at what stage you are asking the 5W and 1H, right? I don't know at what stage. Has the BA done their own bits before you? Now, is it at the initiation stage of the project? Are you trying to elaborate on the objective of the project? Right? That may be different. Project objective may be explored or may be elaborated, yeah, so to say, by a PM. Because if a BA is not involved before a project is created, if you notice when we were going through it, I did go through some processes that BAs needs to do before it becomes a project. But like I said, organizations are different. Some organizations don't have those type of projects. They know what they want to do. So they've already constituted a project team, a project manager assigned. They've created part of the project team, a BA has been assigned. So at that stage, they already have a project mandate. So there's no option, no business case. So BA doesn't need to ask any questions as to why are you doing this and all that. They already decided. They made a decision. Now, at that stage, a PM is creating a PID, right? That's your first document to say, this is my understanding of the project, objective is there. If at that point a PM needs to create their 5 Ws and 1 H, it's the PM responsibility. That doesn't need to be repeated by BA. Because when you then give a BA his own task, these are own tasks, to elaborate on the objective and tell you, because a BA job now is look at the objectives already elaborated by PM, then document them into nitty-gritty level of scope. That's what a BA would do. BA would then document how can we satisfy or fulfill those objectives. That's what a BA is looking at. BA is looking at what are the objectives. PM is looking at what are the objectives of the project. BA is looking at how can we satisfy the objectives. How can we achieve all the objectives? Does that make sense? So they are asking two different questions there. BA is breaking the nitty-gritties down to define the scope to achieve all the objectives. So a BA's 5W and 1H may be different. I don't know if that makes sense to you, Mr. Sunday.
Very, very sensible. I really appreciate it. I think I understand now because the project was ongoing project before I joined the team.
right?
And now realize that, as we join the team, based on the coach, from my coach, that whenever you join a team, you have to set your objective. Definitely for a project, though the project has been ongoing, but from their objective, you have to read through and create your own objective for going forward on the project.
Yeah.
Though
I
the
mean,
project has to be aligned.
yeah, it has to
All
be
right,
aligned.
thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. If you have any further questions, like I said, even if you can't answer now, you can always get in touch and I will definitely try as much as possible. So now I was talking about scope creeping. Yeah, scope creeping is not allowed. Yeah, so try as much as possible to avoid it. As PAs, we want to break things down, define the scope. But once the scope is in, that's why a BA needs to break down ambiguous stuff into integrity. Then, from that point onward, everybody is delivering to scope level, right? Now, there's a lot when something has to change, right? Because, as I said, part of the scope creeping cost could be lack of change control. When someone asks for things and you're just changing things, it may get things out of the way. Things may just go so chaotic, like beyond something you can manage as a PM. And if you're a BA and you're coordinating as beyond something you can manage, you can destroy the entire project. So there's something we call change management process, right? Change management process. I mentioned goal plating as that, understand the complexity of that. Then change management process. Let me see whether this, let me help us. Let me just go straight to okay, I'm going to get there in a minute anyway. So apologies again for the time. I've mentioned some of the business deliverables of PID. I mentioned that earlier. PID is your initial document. Business case is between all the teams, BA and PM, right? So it's between everybody. If a business case requires a financial person to do the financial appraisal, so a BA or a PM doesn't do the cost benefit, the financial appraisal for all the distance, financial, someone with accounting, managerial, what do you call it? Management accountant, sort of skill set level does that part. So it's a wider document, but as an input from BAs and everybody, right? So for a PM, PID is your initial document, then you do your plan. Your plan, a lot of people do with spreadsheets. The plan should be properly done with MS Project. Then after you deliver that, you need the requirement documents from the BA that define the scope. Then the BA then does the design, right? The design are those ones that showed us on Dry the other time, right? Then that moves to development, which is the developers putting up codes together and planning. Depending on the implementation of the project type, it doesn't have to follow this approach. You don't need to have source code, but you need to have your document, initiation document, the project plan as a project manager. And that is what you are actually monitoring and controlling. That's the actual point to deliver your project. Some sort of some baseline is the value of condition against tutorial measure. Again, you understand baseline. If you go through proper training of how to create a project plan, you can't create a project without a baseline being set. So because every project, every task is being monitored based on the baseline. So if it's moving above and beyond the baseline, if it's like something going out of line, going on a different tangent, then you need to control it, basically to put it back in line. If not, so there's code baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline. Now, that is why I said earlier what Mr. Michael asked. If something is failing, the PM should have seen it on the project plan. That's your go-to document. It's what you wake up to look at. Yeah, every day you look at it, you see how your progress is going. That's your document. For a BA, it's all this your VC or Dry. You are documenting things to design, graphical documentation. For a PM, it's your Gantt chart, right? Gantt chart, that's what it's called on the MS project or whatever tool you're using. There are other tools now, even Miro has Gantt chart. I mean, fortunately, there are other tools. But MS project is the ideal system for it. It's your go-to document, and all your Excel and PowerPoint and all those your monitoring tasks for project management, as far as I'm concerned, is to admin. It's a lot of administrative chores. Like for some of us, we don't like it. Like too much document. I create this, I write this report. I want that too much documentation in PM. That's for me. I want to meet with you and design. Trial, job done. Write user story in Jira. I create no document. I write no reports. So my life is a lot easier. But fortunately, well, somehow I still have to control and coordinate projects, but I do it differently basically because I'm not a full PM. I'm an hybrid person. So So however I do, you take. I've not been in an organization that is so strict, so good enough. Right. This is where the change is going to. That's what I was saying. Every change has to be managed right. Right. Someone is requesting for a change. There's what we call a change management process. Right. You need to understand what is being requested, analyze it, right? Modify the plan, see the effect of that change on the plan. And when you're analyzing, you do your full impact analysis, right? So a request is made, right? Update the log first, before you go update any plan, you have to go do your assessment, assess the request, do your impact analysis, cost benefit. Because if someone is requesting for a change, as a PM, I'm talking as a PM now, and that is where you avoid all the issues, project failure, like Mr. Michael said. You've done your analysis, something is changed. What's the impact on the project? It's affected the budget. Then escalate it, write an exception report straight. Exception report is not a regular report. Things that when something an exceptional situation has just happened, you need to raise an exception report straight, so they know there's something here you need to escalate. The price of this product has just increased. That's going to affect our budget. Now, if you go by the current price, that project is not deliverable by the approved budget, right? And so we have to please approve a new budget or increase our tolerance to be able to avoid it, to approve it. Or if we don't do that, we have to do XYZ. Maybe we need more time. Okay, someone is being sick, the person is not available, we're losing a skill set that is critical to the project, but the person is off sick, nobody knows what he knows, but it's not available. Project is at a standstill, it's stalled. You can't stall the project because of one person escalated. So all these are things I PM monitor. As a BA, you are very free, right? You just fold your hands and just looking, just monitoring. All you are checking is what you've documented as requirements, the needs to be done, the scope of the project. They are intact, they are accurate, nothing has changed. Except if there's a change to the request, then you have to go through the process, update your document. Other than that, you fold your hands and you just attend meetings. Anything needed from me, nothing, okay, happy days. I'm just jollivating and just hanging around. But PM is up, must be on their feet. The entire project is on them. Now, then you assess the change, you do all the necessary before you make any change. There's a process to everything. Anyway, so if you are within the project space, please ensure that your organization is carrying out things the normal way. Like I said, not all organization does it. We all work with different organizations. Some people don't do the normal thing. Maybe they don't know it because different people are seeing different roles. Some people jump on the road, they become the program manager, the lead project manager, accidentally, because they've been working around here for the past 25 years. So they've been transiting from customer service to coordinator to this and that. They just jump because I've worked in an organization like that. There are people change role. Anytime there's a space, they advertise internally first and now allow other people to jump to position and learn on the job. So some people jump to positions and just they don't know the nitty-gritty that you learn through training. Not everybody knows stuff. I mean, CMMA can testify with me. How many business analysts really know what a BA does? Very few. That's why I said, if you are not certified like us, if you don't go through certification process, you may not know certain things. Or if you don't develop yourself, read, right? BA books, there are a lot of books I have, a lot. You have to read big books, like educate yourself, learn. You just know the basic that someone taught you or someone has told you, and you think that's it. That's not it. So you got to ensure, especially from where I'm coming from, when I know something, I want to know it right. I want to be proud of what I know, and I want to be able to confront anybody at any point in time to really face that this is what I know and I can actually deliver with it. So whatever you're doing, please ensure you do it right. Yeah, it's very important. So if you want to be a PM, be a good PM. Be a good BA. Right. So to avoid the work, that's why we avoiding all those sort of errors, making appropriate change, not allowing scope, or if not, if a project fails or if you don't get the scope right, you don't understand the project properly, a B or a PM, if you work will be needed, or if there's no B at all. If you don't have a B on your project, you probably run through and all discover that at the end of the day, you've done the wrong thing. It's like building a house and now discovering that you didn't follow the owner of the house doesn't ends up not liking what you built because you didn't show the person. There's a lot of reasons why the work can happen, and you have to put down the entire building and now rework it. You wasted resources basically. Now, there's a risk aspect of project management. Project managers manage what we call a RAIDS log: risk, assumptions, issues, and dependencies. RAIDS, RAIDS. RAIDS, risks, assumptions, issues, and DS, dependencies, basically. All right. Dependencies, RAIDS log. We manage that. So there is risk that has to be monitored as you are sort of transiting to a project life cycle, right? There are risks that you know be identified. A risk identified by anybody, could be by even the project support, could be by a stakeholder, could be by BA, by PM, developers. Anybody can define a risk. But who manages the documents? The PM. Again, answer for. I'm only telling you what PM does. So if you like all those management of documents and all that, the onus is on you. You have to decide what you want. So there are risk assessment process again that you have to learn in details, how to assess risks, how to avoid risks, how to mitigate risks, either avoid it or reduce the impact on the project. There are a lot of techniques again that you can use, what if analysis, sensitivity analysis, and all that to assess risk. Those are done at detail level. How do you respond to risk? You avoid it, reduce it, or you accept it. There are risks that you can avoid. Once you spot it ahead, you have to put in mitigating measures in place, mitigation measures in place. How do you mitigate it? Is this something avoidable? If you can't avoid it, you can either reduce it or accept it. So there are two ways you can go. Avoid. If you go the other way, is unavoidable, then you either accept or you reduce the impact on the project. Again, how do I deal with that? That's if it's a threat, basically. There are risks, there are opportunities, right? There are risks that when you look at it, again, we can go through various examples in detail. We don't have the time now, that you can actually explore the opportunity of a risk. A risk may be a strength to you. A risk may be converted to a strength to you that you need to explore. Basically, various scenarios and all that. So assumptions, I've gone through the way they are constrained. Now, part of your work breakdown structure, your work breakdown structure is how you list all your tasks, like I said on the screen. Now, this diagram you're seeing on the screen can be done, you can do it in Word, but that's sort of the things a PM needs to use VCO for or Draw for. You can use it pretty much like an organogram document. VCO does it perfectly. I know Word does it. I've done a lot to solve with Word as well. Word does almost all these things, but you've got to be advanced in using Word to do it. But ideally, Draw VCO will do it for you. You've got to be able to break down your work before you create a full project plan. A work breakdown structure is the breakdown of tasks by categories, not the detail, before a project plan is created. Again, all these are key. For example, how to build a house, the design, the structure, and blah, blah, blah. It can be broken down into categories. Create a WBS. Then, when the WBS is well understood, identify the SME, the subject matter expert in each aspect. Then estimate from them how long does it take to do each of the tasks. They can break down for you, okay, to do the surveying, we need to do it right. So it's the SMEs that will break it. But don't forget, projects, you're not SMEs in every project as a project manager, right? You're being asked to manage a project that you don't even know how to implement, but you are just supervising, you're managing the people. So you need SMEs, subject matter expert, in each aspect to really explain to you what needs to be done, how it will be done, and how long it will take before you can create your plan. Now, that's your work. WBS will break that down for you. After a WBS, you now need to do what we call estimation. You estimate. Estimate is not the actual time, but estimate gives you an idea. You estimate effort. Again, you can't just estimate. Someone asked me now, how long does it take to excavate, like for a foundation? Do I know? Am I a builder? I don't know. So as a peer, I need someone that has done that before to give me a rough estimate. So you can't just sit down to say, okay, let's say 5 days. No, we don't work like that, right? You estimate, you don't just sleep and just dream that it can be done in 5 days. Someone has to tell you, someone respected, a respected person in that field, right? So for me, I go to the lead of a particular department, not someone that just started. They don't really know much. To do a proper estimation for me, so you can see, even as a PM, you need your stakeholders. You need to know who to do that. They identify your dependency, tasks that are dependent on each other. So you need to understand how to be able to match up things. Everything is not finished to start. You don't finish excavating before you start laying block, right? You can do it maybe 2 days after you started digging for the foundation, 2 days after, even in the same day. The moment you started digging, you can start laying the blocks, and you dig and you lay block at the same time. That is dependencies, start to start. So there are things that saves time. Because if you allow 5 days to finish digging the ground, you now start laying the block, you've wasted 5 days. On the 5th day, you might have raised the block to a certain level if you do start to start. So you got to understand dependencies in tasks as well to have a proper project plan. A project plan that stands the test of time, that even when you are losing time, you can still gain time, right? You've saved a lot of time and save some in your pocket. So they say a project is needed by end of January 2024. Now, I can create a project plan with the knowledge of all this and how to use it and techniques to you, and create a plan to finish by even early January to buy more time. I know things won't work the way I want, so that when things are failing, I have time. So you don't plan to finish when they ask you to. You plan to maximize the time. Can I put 2 people together? They won't tell you, okay, can you start painting the moment that is dry? So they've sort of plastered 2 rooms from day 2 is dry. So survey master told me, that when you plaster, it gets dry within 5 hours, fine. Can you start painting from day one, midday? Right. That's it. I'm buying time as a PM. So I want to push people to maximize the time and the budget. Because when you start using 2 people at the same time, like, don't forget you are keeping them, you're paying them less. Because if the painter is waiting for the drawing to complete, you are paying them per day, even they are doing nothing. So I want to start paying you from day one. I want to start getting value for the money from day one. So that's what PM does. We want to manage everything effectively so you can see it like it's more of like maybe human resources person, I don't know. All the HR people in the house, please, I don't know if you are part of them, but if you are with HR background, that will be your thing. You may like it. Right. I'm running short of time, but I'm trying to critical part. I'm going to touch this as well. Critical part is that's the part you identify in the project that you focus on. Don't forget you are delivering the project. Now you are managing the time. You've already set up the task. Now you identify the part that takes the longest to achieve. Don't forget there are tasks that needs to be done, right? But there are set of tasks per day. So you identify the task that takes the longest days to do and see how long it takes from beginning to the end of the project, following that part that takes the longest to do. That's what we call the critical part. That is what the focus should be on as a PM. So for every PM in the house, once you do a plan, please identify your critical parts. That is what will fall your hand when it comes to delivering the project. If you don't focus on it, your focus should be on your critical parts. So look at your plan. Don't just look at the task for today. Look at task. That task may be in 2 weeks' time, but that task that is meant to start 2 weeks' time takes 3 months to do. So look at the part. How long does it take? That's your longest part in the project. That part must not be altered. Well, that will make your project fail. Why am I saying that? It takes the longest. So this takes 10 days, right? This 10 days makes it the critical part. But only that task is 10 days. Now, if I focus on this 5 days and I don't focus on that 10 days, when I'm focusing on 10 days, I want to ensure all the developers here are on ground. All the skill sets you need are there. And I want to manage them effectively, build a very good rapport with them to ensure that they don't exceed these 10 days. Because if they do, I'm in very, very awesome. If this one day gets extended by 4 days, does it know it doesn't affect my project? It doesn't. I can still buy time. But if this 10 days should exceed, that's where the problem is. So identify your critical parts, and that's where your focus will be on. Ensure that your critical part is not elongated by a single day. All of that things can change, but don't let your critical part. If it changes, that means your delivery day will change. If any task like shorter changes, I can mix things up. I can put two people on a project. I can work with time. Just like I said earlier, make 2 people work together. I don't have to wait a full day. Let's just start together and all that. You can alter your plan. Plans are altered anyway. There's no project plan that gets completed until the end. All right, let's quickly move to this part. That's the interesting part. Lesson learned is very important. That's one of the top data at the end of every project. But before you start the project as well, check for similar projects. You're working on a project. Is there any similar project in that organization? If there's yes, check their lesson learned log to avoid their pitfalls. Very important. Very important. It's one of the critical documents you need to read first as a PM. So I look through the repository of projects as a PM in an organization. I see relevant project. Maybe it's a software company, fine. So all the project software, I read some lesson learned. What are the mistakes project managers or project teams have made before me? Or maybe while I was even there on other projects that I'm not aware of. Lesson learned project is simply saying the plan and unplanned. What was planned went successful, and what was planned that didn't work well. What was not planned, but then helped us. We just try by error, basically. Oh, let's do this. We didn't plan it, but we just brought it in. Someone just suggested in the process. It wasn't on our plan, but then it worked well for us. Document it. Other people can use it as part of their future plan, right? What was on plan but didn't work well. So those 4 things are things we capture. And what we want to focus when I read lesson learned log, what worked well, what was planned and worked well, what wasn't planned and worked well. I want to incorporate it into my plan. It will help me. But I want to avoid things that didn't work well, whether planned or planned. That's it. So that's the most important thing. So the next thing I'm talking about is the 3 scopes I mentioned at the beginning, how it affects each other. The cost, the time, and the scope of a project, especially the quality. How picking 2 out of 1, how one affects the other. I'll give you an example. So, I did it the other time, and that's how project manager we monitor and control things. We need to understand those 3 constraints that you manage, right? And how they can affect each other. The moment the price of an item has increased, right? Price has increased, so the budget will go up. So we can't get it cheap again, but we want to ensure we get it good. Quality is the key. We can't sort of compromise the quality, right? And sometimes what you need to ask is, right, can we compromise the price, but as long as it gives us good quality, right? Do we have any other material that can give us the same quality, right? But it's cheaper for us to still deliver within the same time. So that's what project manager is thinking about. That price is going to, okay, what other options do we have out there? Can we get something cheaper that can still, so you can't compromise the quality, right? You can't. Quality is the core of the project. You can't. But your time and cost, how can it be altered to incorporate the scope of the project? That's what a project manager is looking at. So that's why I said earlier, you want something cheaper, you have to compromise the time. If you want it cheap, then you don't ask me to deliver it as soon as possible. If you want it cheap, then it may mean I want a cheap website, right? One person can deliver a website for you, but it will take them 4 weeks to write the code all by themselves because we want it cheap, so it takes 4 weeks. If you want it fast, right? You want it tomorrow, then you hire more people, then you spend more money. Does that make sense? It's a logical, I mean, I don't know, I think it makes sense. It's just a common, well, it may be common sense, but may not really be common, but it's logical. If you want it faster, you need to spend more money. Simple. I want to get to London as quickly as possible, then you fly. If you are flying, you spend more money. Oh, I don't have more money, then go by train. Train is the cheapest. In fact, not train, coach. Go and take National Express, 6.5 hours, but it's 20 pounds. You get the point. So you want it faster, you spend more money. If you want to save money, then you need to compromise the time. Only the quality should not. So, and that's what project managers should focus on, please. Focus on that as a PM. To monitor and control your constraint, you will be in a good place. So if someone is saying, oh yeah, it's expensive, we need it tomorrow, you have to make it clear to them. You have to be blunt. Like you see my message the other time. Sometimes as a B, you have to be blunt to your clients. That's the reality. So that's when you deliver your job. I want to deliver good quality. So I'm not going to promise you tomorrow with the budget to have. I have to be honest. You decide whether I will continue or not. I can't compromise our quality. I value my work. I value what I deliver. I deliver good service, right? But to have the best of me, right, within the time you want, you need to spend this amount. Two things. So if you're telling me you have less, then you need to give me more time. And that's how project works as well. Don't forget you are managing three constraints: the budget, the delivery of the project, the time, which is a cumulative addition of individual tasks, right? Constituted by, which starts from your work breakdown structure, right? Then transposed to breaking down by SMEs into tasks. Then they give you a rough estimate how it will take. You put down your plan, that gives you an idea when to finish. If your finishing date exceeds the actual date, then you look at the dependencies. How can we join tasks together to still achieve that delivery? Then when you've joined things together, you've asked SME, they've estimated and pushed things. If the delivery is still after what they want, you have to be honest. This is what is showing on the plan, right? I've tried my possible best. We can't put these tasks together more than this, except you want us to plaster today and start painting today, but it's not right. It has to dry first. So you have to be honest. Then they have to see it, okay. What it may mean is, if you have to have it that time, right, can we hire an equipment that can help us dry the wall, right? It's on hire. That will add to our budget though. Do you mind? Oh, we don't mind. We need it tomorrow. Fine. So they're compromising the budget to have it on time. So all that needs to be understood as a PM, and that's your core aspect. That's why I'm focusing a bit on that. If you get that right, you won't end up in in project failure. Now, project lifecycle has five: initiation, planning, execution, monitoring and controlling, and project closure. Those are the five for every project. Now, I'm not going to go into detail with that, but you will see. I will send us some documents after the visit anyway, so expect some from your email that will give you an idea, the slides and key aspect of the slide for you to understand. It will give you an idea of what Prince2 looks about, but Prince2 needs to be well understood. The 7 principles, the 7 themes, and the 7 processes. Again, Prince2 breaks stages into 7, which is processes, but project has 5 life cycles, but each life cycle ties up with the phase of the project. The startup, the directing, the initiating. I think you appreciate that more at this level. where the startup, which is SU, stands, initiating the project, the IP, stage boundary, the SB, directing the project, which sits across the board, and controlling the project, which sits all across after you, which sits like from immediately after initiation, you can see project control taking after that. And that's what Prince 2. So not all the Prince 2 7 stages doesn't really follow each other sequentially, right? They are all incorporated together just in that diagram we explained to you. Now, the key thing you have to understand is the project life cycle, a software development life cycle, right? It's very important to understand that for every software project, I don't know why, but that's very important for BAs as well as PMs. So there are 5 project life cycle: initiating a project, right? Let me go back to it just 1 minute. Like we mentioned, I'm going to come back to the methodologies. So you have the initiating the project, planning, project initiation, you plan, you execute after your planning. But while you're executing, you are monitoring and controlling, right? Initiation is where you prepare, you understand the project. After you understand the project, you ask your 5 whys and 1 H, like 5 W and 1 H, like Mr. Sunday said. Then you do your planning. Planning is when you create the plan, work breakdown structure, SME estimation, project plan, Gantt chart, done. Resource planning, done. Resource cost assigned. All your Gantt chart fully done. You have a full holistic view of the project when it's to complete, and that's all budget and all that. Project plan done. Then you can start executing the project, right? Executing is when you're delivering the project, doing the work to deliver. But while you're executing, you are monitoring and control. If you don't monitor and control the project, like I said, those 3 boundaries, the project will fail. Things doesn't remain the same. Nothing remains the same from start to finish. When you monitor and control, your project will deliver on time to budget, then you can close the project. After you close, you pick your lesson learned. That's what that does. How do you do that? All your documentation and all that can be done using the Prince 2 methodology. That's what Prince 2 does. It gives us like an idea of how to document and how to manage. It doesn't really do much, to be honest. But most of there are embedded principles inside the PM. Embedded principle. You can't see them physically apart from the documents. That's all you see. Everything is inbuilt skills that you need to understand. The software development is different. If you're not delivering, so you are delivering a project using those 5 stages, but you're delivering a software project, right? So a PM is working on a project. It has 5 stages as a PM to go through. Initiation, you will plan, right? That's as a PM. Then the project will be executed. While it's executing, it will monitor and control, or she will monitor and control. Then they will now do a project closure document and a lesson learned log. Now, but the project you are managing actually is a software. You need to understand that that software goes through 5 stages too. The software itself that you're delivering, that's if it is software, will go through analysis, design. That is where BAs function. BA doesn't function on the project initiation, project plan, project execution, they function, but that life cycle is for PMs. For a BA that is not coordinating the project, what you look at is the analysis, design, development, testing, and deployment for a software. Because the analysis stage is where a BA will be deployed to do their investigation. The investigation documents investigation and do all that. When they've done the investigation, documented it, analyzed it into prioritization, broken it down into integrity, no ambiguous stuff, they will then design. The design is what I showed us earlier. That's your design. Either you do a process map, a flow chart, a UI, a solution design. That is the interpretation of your finding. And that is the most useful document you would ever create. Because every investigation you do, nobody is there. Nobody, apart from people you're meeting, nobody knows what you're doing, right? But when you've done your thorough analysis, you've done your investigation, you understand the root cause, what needs to be done, what needs not to be done, and how to do it. You've agreed on solution with technique. Don't forget, you're not thinking. Now, let me point out here. You're not thinking of all this on your own. Very important, please. You are deliberating with people, either your colleagues, people on the project, and SMEs. I'm delivering a networking project, or I'm delivering a project for the HR. I need the HR fully in the project. I need to pick their brain. They are the one who works with the system. They are the one who understand the process. So I get my key stakeholders that I'm meeting with every day to understand the integrity I need to point the techie guys to the right direction, or whoever is implementing the project to the right direction, to say, guys, this is what you will do. So you need people, stakeholder, key for every project. And SMEs are very important. Not just any stakeholder, people that will give you the information you need. So when you've done that right, you then translate all your findings into design, depending on the project, scenario based. That is your work. Once that is done, be a job done. That's what you're being paid to do. That's it. Nothing else. As a BA. As a PM, you do all your stuff that I've been mentioning since we've been talking about PM. Now, a BA then goes into development, daily scrum meetings with an IT environment. They're just listening to developer what they're doing. If they have any issue on any requirement, you clarify for them. They need something from the business. Don't forget, I mentioned business are everywhere, every functional area in the business, apart from technical guys, apart from IT, right? Any issue they have, any information, you go back, you fetch out the information, you bring it back to them, right? Send it by email, Teams, whatever, meetings. And that's what you're doing there. You're supporting the delivery of your design. They have to design to your standard. Now, the good thing here is even the testers use your documents to test. Every requirement or everything that needs to be done needs to be broken down into acceptance criteria level. I will really emphasize that you need to know at what nitty-gritty level each need, or what nitty-gritty level does each need needs to meet before it can be considered accepted. That's what we call the acceptance criteria, or what we call the user acceptance criteria. Sometimes I call it UAT, right? They need it to deliver the project. They need to, or whatever, however you're documenting it, make it nitty-gritty so that the people delivering it understand what they need to do at the integrity level, and people that will test it understand again from your document. That's why a BA job is critical. It's just two phases we deal with. The rest we support. A BA can be asked to perform to help in the testing, but you don't function really critically after this point. After your analysis and design, you don't. You're supporting here, you're there supporting, ensure that nothing is needed from you. If anything is needed, you update your document, and so on and so forth. So you need to understand the 5 stages as well. Analysis, you analyze, you design. Then after your design, which is your document, you pass it to developers, they develop, then developer passes to tester, they test. Once it's tested and it's passed all the testing, then we push it live, we deploy it. Then there is what we call the post-production or post-implementation support as well. And mostly that is passed on to what we call the IT support team in the organization. But it has to be well pretty much agreed on, well understood by who is taking over after the deployment. So we all describe, we agree on that in the course of the, but it's not part, where some people are part of the stages, post-production support and post-implementation, whatever, but you can put it, but there are 5 major stages that needs to be understood. Any question on that? I've not seen anybody, apart from Francis and Sunday, but I believe they are okay. Now, so the only thing I'll just touch here is we've talked about that. Then we then need to understand that there are project software development life cycles that you need to understand. The agile can be either Scrum Agile or Kanban Agile. So I always say that now an agile doesn't really mean agile. Agile pretty much means a project methodology where changes are expected, where a change is inevitable, right? You don't use agile when you know the end from the beginning, right? If you're like that, or if you're working on a project that you know the business knows what they want, you can tell the end. We call it a predictive approach. That's called waterfall. So waterfall methodology, I have it somewhere there. Like I said, I'll give you all that later via your email to read up. That's why I have it here. Agile methodology, it's pretty much an iterative or incremental methodology, or we call it the adaptive methodology, right? It's an adaptive methodology of running the project where you can adapt to changes. When something changes, it doesn't affect the project. You can accommodate changes. When you can't accommodate changes, right, that's when you call it waterfall. But an agile project can either be Scrum, be run through Scrum. So Scrum is a methodology, but it's an agile methodology. Let's put it that way. And again, I can show you that a Scrum methodology is one that requires certain rules, where you have sprints, where you write stories. Use that story, we do daily Scrum meetings. So when you don't have daily Scrum meeting, you don't do sprint planning. There are no roles of a product owner, in an organization. There's no product backlog. You may be running agile, but running agile on its own, not using Scrum. So when you're running agile, you can either run agile using Scrum or run agile using Kanban. Kanban is different. The board is different. Again, I can show you that in Jira later. Jira explains both of them clearly. The Kanban board is like a Trello board, or a board that you can just move things across from one column to the other. That's Kanban. Scrum is when you write a user story and you do sprint planning. But anyway, Then you have waterfall, which is what we call a predictive approach. You can tell the end from beginning. So I asked you to buy me a car. I want a white Mercedes-Benz GLE 450. It has to be 2023. It has to be white, black interior. It needs to be automatic. It needs to be petrol. I've given you a specific requirement, so you know what I want. Come back straight. You can tell what I want, and I've told you clearly. I'm not changing my mind. That's it. So when a business or your client knows what they want and they've expressly told you what they want, and you've agreed, this is what we want. That's waterfall. Waterfall is faster, it's cheaper, but it can be more expensive if you're running a project and the stakeholders or the business say, oh, sorry, yeah, please, can we change that to black in the middle of the project? It's not allowed in Kanban and waterfall rather. So when a user, when most businesses have idea, they don't really know what they want. They just want to create something that works a certain way. They're not sure. Things can change. Agile. That's why Agile is the widely used methodology to run projects. And I think that's the most important stuff I want to cover. In Agile, we run sprint, like I said. Agile has advantages and disadvantages. Any question, please? Before we move on, any questions? I managed to squeeze it in, but obviously there are a lot of information there. You may need more. Please get in touch. If you don't have any questions, I'll tell you. I think you have my detail. If you do have, you have the email that you register with. Get any question you have. You still are not sure what you want to do. You still are not sure if it's something you want to do, or you just need the general career advice. I'm not happy. We've all been there. I've been there before. I don't like what I'm doing now. I want something more better that pays me more, gives me more control of my time. Get in touch. We can talk on that on the one-to-one. Always available to definitely give you as much information as whatever I know. If I don't know, I'll tell you. I'll pass you on to whoever knows it. But if I do, I will let you know. If you're considering any role within the IT and you're not sure again, there are a lot of roles I've mentioned earlier. There are too many roles within the project world: the project manager, assistant project manager, project coordinator, project administrator, project support officer, PMO analyst, and the list goes on and on and on that you can do. Project manager is up on top. The assistant project manager is assisting. Project support is like an admin person, just doing all the documentation, maybe doing just the reporting, but then learn more about project management. Then people move role. Someone can be a project support because they don't know much. They just want to be within the space. Then gain more experience and become an assistant project or a project manager. The PMO analysts deal with the standards in an organization, documentation standards. They keep the repository as well. All the project repository, every project organization is within a repository is there. They deploy the template. The template is changing. They keep the standard of documentation. It's more an admin role, but it's more advanced than a project support. Project administrator is the same as a project support, it's just different ways of calling it. There are a lot of names people call it. It's project related. You see a role, let me know, and I can tell you based on the job description what role is it. All these roles are not difficult to do, and that's one thing I've discovered over the years. They may ask for this and that. They're not difficult roles. Trust me, they're not. They are easy. I mean, they're just piece of biscuit. Basic. Everything I've explained here is nothing. The moment you start working within the space, you discover that you're pretty much doing less than what I've even talked about. Some days you don't do anything. Some days you just do duty. You may just have meetings sometimes back to back, sometimes you're free. Especially as a BA, you do less PM2, you stand on top of the project, you understand what you need to know. You know how to coordinate your project and manage things where you don't struggle at all. BA as well, there are a lot of roles as a BA. And let's talk, like I said, if you have any information or if you need any help or you have any question, you know how to get in touch, you can get in touch through any of the information I'll display on the screen. Other than that, I will leave the floor open for general questions that you may have related to the topic, not related, general career questions now. And I believe Simeme is still on the call. If you have anything to say or just to answer questions before we wrap it up, I just want to make sure you get something out. If you have any question, please do ask before we call it today, and I'll be in touch next time we'll be meeting to be early next year. We'll run another session. But if you need full training on any aspect of this, right, let me mention that. You need to understand, you want to go into any of the role within PM or BA, you need full training, right? Get in touch. There should be a session starting. I have some people I'm mentoring at the moment, or you may just be like, you need one-to-one mentorship, right? I don't want the full training. I know a bit. I just want mentorship in certain aspects. Get in touch. There'll be a session, training session, January, towards the end of January next year. I'll be in touch with us. But if you're interested to join that, please get in touch to get details, right? But what I always advise is don't join too, right? There are aspects I've not talked about today in the IT that I've not even mentioned. Data related stuff, I've not mentioned that. If you're interested, get in touch. Let's talk, and so that you make sure you choose the right thing and you go in the right direction. Data is still an aspect which I do run as well, but I can't join you with this. I can only join these two together. But when you're doing training, please decide which one you want. Either you want the PM side or BA side. I don't like people joining it because it can complicate things. If you don't know much, it gives you too much and it gets people confused. All right, Mr. Dolapo, let's go ahead. I'll leave the floor open. Actually, you can unmute yourself and let's just interact, ask questions. Let's all learn from each other. Except if your background is not that quiet, unmute yourself and let's just interact. It's just the final part of it. Mr. Dolapo, go ahead. Is it that Mr. or Mr.? I don't know. Oluwa Dolapo. Okay, we're waiting for him. Any question from anyone? You can unmute yourself and ask if you have any.
Hello.
Hello, yeah, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Can you hear me? Oluwadolapo?
Oluwa Dolapo, please go ahead. Sorry, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. It was a very fantastic training. Very deep and educative. My question is, do you even deal with data protection at all?
Yes.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, definitely. I mean, so within that, I would always say to people like data protection is key to every project, especially within the IT space. It's very critical. There's no project I will work on that has data element to it without carrying along the information security team. It's very critical. So that's pretty much at the detail level. So what we look at today is on the two sides, project management BA, even as a PM or a BA, the nitty-gritty of your training, especially when it comes to implementing project, you need the knowledge of data protection, whether within the GDPR or wherever you are, what sort of data protection acts are out there. It's very critical how you manage people information or how you just don't create a system that allows for porosity in an organization system that will put your organization at risk. So it's very critical, yeah. But again, when you talk of data as a whole, like I said, there's a separate piece of training we can do provide on data. If you go on this, if you go on the organization YouTube page, I think the YouTube page is there, which is Ospec Group. I think I have a very detailed data video there that you can sort of go through. Do you have any particular question about data protection?
Yes, I'm a data protection practitioner.
All right.
And I've not done my CIPPE or CIPPM. That's been a challenge because I was excited when you said you could train anybody on PRIS2 or business analyst that you follow the curriculum. So I was thinking that for this webinar to be more of a success for me, I wouldn't mind if I could get somebody that will do the training so that I can pass my CIPPE. Initially, I had a training on PM and I ran away because it was getting too complex for me because of the application, and I ran to data protection. I'm in data protection now, and I wouldn't mind. I don't know. That's why I'm asking, do you do that? So I could pass my CIPPE and get a secured job because I just finished a contract from Open University. So, and that is why I joined this training. So I don't know how that could be of help for me. Yeah, I'm finished.
All right, thank you very much. Yeah, thanks very much for that. Yeah, and I'm very happy to hear that at least you are on the ladder, you're on the data side of things, which you're working on data protection side. Like I said, IT is wide. So when someone says I'm an IT person, so it's very wide. There's a lot of things you can be doing. So good for you. You are on one side, so we can actually pick it from where you are, get your certification done. But then I always say you can always extend your tentacles. You can always kind of expand, get more knowledge in certain areas, especially when you are within the IT team. You never can tell. People move from, if I've trained a lot of people, I don't know whether she's on the call now, we're a project support person, but now won't leave business analysis for anything because of the flexibility. Because when she was a IT support, she had to go to the office even during COVID. Some of them had to run shift and all that because we can't carry all the equipment home. And then like, nah, I like to work from home and all that. So now we can pick your data protection up to really get certified, provide you material and necessary things you need to know, straight to the point training. You get what you need to know to pass your certification done. Like from where I'm from, right? We like certification. We like to bag a certificate. I like to keep all my certificates certified in things. I've Linux system certification and all that, so which is good. I always recommend it. So please get in touch. Get in touch, and we can discuss that after this call. We can discuss that in detail. Know in detail what you want, so that it's not too ambiguous. Break it down into manageable sort of stages and processes, and we then set up a deadline as to when that can be achieved. So I'm happy to work with you on that. Yeah.
Do I email you or on this WhatsApp?
You can email. You can email WhatsApp on that number, or that basically any of the two numbers of WhatsApp or the email you can use.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get in touch any number or the email on screen. Yeah, I'll pick it up as soon as I see it, and we can discuss them. Any other questions? Thank you very much, Any other person? Any question? Nothing? Okay. Isimeme, anything to wrap up? Anything for us?
No, not at the moment, my brother. Just yeah, it was good. It was a good session. I think yeah.
Next year, if you want to be
specific directed to me, so
yeah, thank you. I would like to organize. We have some people that should have been on the call today, but for one reason or the other, they couldn't. I like to bring more professionals in, learn from more people, and I do run that session. So next year, if you want to be part of the community, let's put it that way, community of professionals, whether you are in the industry or not in the industry, we can share ideas, share jobs, openings, and all that together. Let me know. I can add you to a community, right? Where we pretty much on WhatsApp, where we deliberate and discuss skills, how you do things, what's changed in the environment. Is there any job out there? You can be part of it. Then occasionally we do meet up. We can have professional setup where we have people that can ask us questions. We just deliberate professionally. And then we have sessions like this where we bring to the knowledge of people who need it, right? Information that we need, and if they need any training or they need us to point them at the right direction. So again, if you need to be part of the community, if you'd like to be, right, please get in touch. I will add you up, and so we can be in the same community together, learning as professionals. All right, Mr. Someone raised their hand now that I just missed. All right, the person is gone. Is that Mr. Sunday, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Any contribution?
Yes, I have a question. Yeah, thank you so much for this section today. I really appreciate it. Though presently I have already started training somewhere. I've completed my training and I wanted to opt in for job. My coach told me to hold on to go through graduate role because of experience, in which I am doing presently now. I've started applying for graduate role on Graka, and I've started getting positive responses from a different company from stage 1 to 2 to final stage now. Though yet I haven't gotten any job, secure any job for now. Now my question is that because I saw your what you are into for the one-on-one coach, especially for interview preparation. I don't know how that one can be done. Does the person still need to pay for the £500, or is it has to be on another ground? Because I've done Prince2 training. I wanted to write my exam by January. That is foundational exam, Prince2 foundational exam for project management. Thank you.
Right. So definitely, I mean, there are different sort of requirements or from individual person when it comes to career. And the way I used to do it, the way I do it, not really used to it. Even when I run trainings like one in all. Like if anybody is attending my training on Discord. Yeah, there's someone that's attending my training on Discord will be surprised at the price you mentioned, because normally I don't do that. Right now, because I do one in all. Now, mentorship is part of the package, but if you're doing mentorship, then basically we can talk, we see what you need. So your requirement, your need determines basically what we can alter that. So there's nothing now. When I started training, anybody that knew me then, it wasn't about the money, it was about impacting people positively. I don't like seeing people doing odd jobs. Personally, I don't. I've never done it. So then when I see people, I'll be like, I don't know much. If I'm doing what I'm doing, anybody can do it. So why are people now? That's what I started. When I started, as far back as 2014, that's how I started. So everybody I've trained, people I've helped in sponsorship and all that was based on that. So it's not about money, it's about value. Now, if you pay £100 and you get value for the £100, right? If I get £200 value, I like it. And what I've got conscious, I'm not a businessman. I always say that everybody that knows me, if not, you'll have seen me everywhere doing it. I don't do that. If I collect £100 from you, I'll give you £200 value. If you pay £500, it's a £1,000 value you're getting. And that's the truth. Now, everybody that's seen that will tell you that. So we can discuss what you need. Let's pick it on that first. And as long as you achieve what you need, that's my own job, right? Right. Now, even you may pay £100, £200 and be like, Joe, you know what? I'm buying you a bottle of wine or I'm giving you this. You help me to do that. That can come from you. So let's discuss what you need first and let's see achieve. Then we can discuss what's going to cost after. I don't know if that makes sense. Right. There's a cost to it, but it's definitely can go through a discussion. So, I like to hear what you need first. I know where you are from, based on what you've explained. And let's go to the integrity of what needs to be done to get your objectives done.
All right. Thank you so much. I will get in touch with you later. Thank you.
Any other person, please, we're kind of done, basically, with giving stuff. I would share the video at some point, edited video, pretty much in bits and pieces on YouTube, so you can rewatch it later. That's the YouTube handle is there. I'll pretty much edit that. Any material that I need to share, I'll share with us via email. After the meeting, I think we get a survey. If you can just give some feedback back and see areas that needs to be improved. But next year, there will be a lot of more sessions of similar stuff and a bit more professional and trainings. So if you're interested in any, like I said, get in touch. Someone raising their hand again.
Yes, please, it's me. Okay, sorry.
Okay, so okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, please, can we get recorded video for this? Because when I got the link today, I tried to share it with a professional colleague, and unfortunately, because of the short notice, they were unable to join this section. They now requested that, is it possible for them to have the recorded section? And if I have it, am I permitted to send it to those people that wanted to join this section so they can listen at their comfortable time? Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I was saying earlier, I will definitely share some edited video. Definitely, the important part of it. If everything is okay, I'll share all. As long as you can listen to all, it may be too long, so I try to break it. I'll share it, and if it's on a link, I'll give you the link to it so that you can go watch it there better. After this session, you probably just receive a certificate of attendance. That doesn't mean a certificate of training, but you've attended a training. A webinar by Oxford Group, I think, yeah, a certificate should follow. I think I've uploaded that. Certificate of attendance will follow. But for proper training, you have a proper certificate. But if you've attended the training, you have some knowledge, you should receive a certificate for that as well. Thank you for coming. You can pretty much drop off once if you don't have any questions, or if you want to listen, if anybody has any question we want. But
Yeah, please, sir, my question has not been answered. Can I send it to those people that are not able to join this?
Yes.
I need the consent from you. Okay, yes. Thank you.
100%. Yeah. Anybody can watch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody. Yeah, I'll give you that consent. Yeah. Okay. Any other person? Okay, let me lower our hand so that I see who is actually raising that. All right. Nobody. Good. I think we should then call it a day there. If you have any question, like some of the things we go through, let me just go through that before I just log off finally. So some of the things we go through normally, if you are interested and you get in touch, is mainly the nitty-gritty of what we've gone through today, not just theoretical, but practical, more practical, like hands-on. Now, I do mine in the sort of coaching way, like someone holding your hand and actually doing it. So not deploying you to go and do something and then come back, right? So you're going to be taught how to do it, given projects and work together. I mean, you'll be worked with on the project as well, like at the initial project, on how to do it, then given the opportunity to work on your own, that to see if you've actually learned anything. So that may take a few weeks, may take a couple of months, depending on how quickly you can learn. But it doesn't just stop there. The current CV needs to be then revamped, or a new CV needs to be created to incorporate into the new skills you learn. Then the professional platform, I always say that I value professional platform a lot, which is LinkedIn. Most of my jobs, I don't know how many offers I currently have on LinkedIn. I can't even tell some of it. I can't reply. I recommend people. I just send to people. It's worked perfectly for me. And as simple as it is, right? My profile is just commands a lot of attention because your skill set matters. That needs to be looked at as well. So if you need any special need, please, like I said, get in touch and let's think about it together and or deliberate on it together and see if we can, help you achieve any of your dream for 2024. It's good to plan ahead career-wise and every other aspect. Please consider the personal development career-wise and every other aspect as well. Things you really like to do, what sort of life you want to live. Incorporate that into your plan and live every day with a step towards it. And I believe God will help us in achieving that. Thank you very much for attending the session. You'll receive a survey after that. And if you please help to answer the survey, just simple, straightforward, I think about 5 to 6 questions. And then you should get a certificate of attendance to your email. Any question, please get in touch on any of the numbers on the screen of that email. Thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.